Has anybody here used a Switch controller that works?
What are you talking about? What do you mean?
I'm just wondering, like, if anyone has had the experience of having a Switch controller where the stick always works and the buttons always are responding.
So what controller are you using?
I've used the Joy-Cons and then this other one that's called, like, Power A, which had the most and highest reviews.
Stop there. Stop right there. Those Power A controllers...
Yeah, they're bad, I found out.
...are horrendously bad.
Yeah, they're bad. People are saying that 8-bit do, I don't even know how you're supposed to pronounce it.
8-bit do? No, don't get that controller. Don't get that one.
One's pretty good. I don't know. I did a big poll on the old Twitters, and everybody was saying that's the good one.
People on Twitter are also now going completely wild about the fact that weed prevents coronavirus infection. So, I mean, like, who knows what's going on Twitter?
Jam with the console cowboys in cyberspace. This is episode 219 of Insert Credit, and finally, our console ranking special. We've threatened you with this good time, and this week we deliver. By the time this episode is completed, the panel of video game experts assembled here on this program will provide a definitive ranking of the 21 best video game consoles ever created. I'm Alex Jaffe, and I define a console as anything primarily designed to play video game software.
I'm Frank Cifaldi, and typically I will define a video game console in a very similar way, something that is primarily designed to play video game software, but I will also add that a closed architecture is how I would differentiate that from a computer.
I'm Tim Rogers, and I would define a video game console as when a video game is sad about something and you try to make it feel better. There you go. That's the joke that Brandon was going to make. I largely agree with Frank. Except I'll add that I define a video game console as the Sony PlayStation 1, baby. Super Nintendo, baby.
And I want to go back and say I said typically because I'm going against my own rules in the show. So
as we'll see.
Oh, excellent.
I'm Brandon Sheffield, and it's too bad that I'm last because I don't have a whole lot to add to that. I mean, I guess I will say also my modifier will be I'm not going to include, for example, the FM Towns Marty, because that's a consoleized computer. But I'm probably gonna break a similar rule in my list as well. There's a weird little sliding line for what's a game console and what's not, and I guess we'll get into it as we move along here. But of course,
excellent.
It's the Wonder Swan is what we're all thinking.
Yeah, that's the console.
WS.
We're going to find that out. Here's how this is going to go. We're going to go in the order in which we just announced our names, me excluded. Frank is going to draft a console for the list. We'll discuss it for about 4 minutes. Then Tim will draft his own console, and we'll decide where it goes in the ranking as we've established it so far. Then Brandon will go through that cycle 7 times. We'll have our list at the end.
Excellent.
If anyone wants to veto a console from the list, I'm giving each of you 1 veto. You may use it or you may not, as you wish.
I'm going to say I'm not going to use the veto. I refuse to use a veto for this. Also, I remember there was an email thread or it was an attempted thread, I would call it, because it was just an email with 1 reply. That was like, are we each going to pick 7? And I was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm not even going to think about it. I'm just going to come in here and rely for once just on the nonsense in my head. I'm just going to rely on the nonsense.
Whoa.
And I'm going to wing this one. I'm sure Brandon has a whole bunch of 3x5 index cards over there.
Yeah, I got my index cards ready to go.
With like Wonder Swan and Saturn written on there.
Tap, tap, tap. Yeah, I got a plan.
See, the reason I'm not going to use my veto is because I could not resist just like vetoing the PC Engine just so that Brandon's ongoing 20-year grudge against me goes on for eternity.
Wait, how is it a grudge against you? That doesn't make any sense to me.
No, there's some sort of grudge going on. There's some sort of grudge. There's some bad blood between me and Brandon.
What?
Brandon
No.
killed my father, etc. I would just veto the PC Engine just to make Brandon upset.
Oh, okay.
Is what I would do.
Well, that I understand.
That's why I won't do it. I won't do it. That's all I'm saying.
Brandon, Frank, you may use yours if you want.
Understood.
Yeah, if Brandon vetoes the Super Nintendo, that's going to be very upsetting.
It's within his rights.
I'm not going to
That's the reason I brought up vetoing the PC Engine, is so that Brandon could formulate his own plan against me.
I'm not gonna veto the Super Famicom. It's got stuff on it.
The Super Family computer.
There's Telnet games on
Frank, you're up first.
Okay, so Frank is up first, and again, going against my own rule of a video game console, I'm going to come out swinging and nominate the Windows PC as the greatest gaming console of all
Come
time.
on, okay, I will veto it.
Wait, are you actually vetoing the Windows PC,
I mean,
dude?
that's not I don't know. Maybe I won't, but it's not a game console.
Let's discuss whether or not it's a game console.
This is the longest lasting commercial mainstream game system by far. Games are
That's true.
infinitely moddable.
If you call it a game system.
Community patches mean just about any game can run forever. Even if you have to work for it, you can get it to run. It is always the most high-end console at any given time. It's a system that is friendliest to indie developers, I would say. While it's not 100% open, it is the most open platform that has like an actual real market. I think it's the greatest game console of all time. I can get into DirectX history if that helps the case. I don't know, but like that's it.
I think it's a game playing system, not a game console.
Gotta love that DirectX though, dude.
A game console primarily exists to play games, and like a Windows PC is probably the best game playing system or best game playing device, but I don't think it's a game console.
It's the thing that lives under my TV that I turn on to play games.
Maybe it's your game console, but like that's not its primary function by design.
It is in my house, so
Shoot.
All right.
Steam Big Picture Mode, dude. I'm going to tell you the truth. Sometimes you put Steam Big Picture Mode on and it just messes up all your other display settings and you just kind of can't do anything else. And then at that point, there really is no meaningful difference between your Windows PC and a video game console. So I had Steam Big Picture Mode just stuck on my TV. It was beautiful.
I mean, I guess I don't think that it is a particularly interesting entry to a best console list because it's like, okay, it can emulate everything, so I guess it's the best one.
I didn't even mention that.
Yeah, there's a little bit of wishing for infinite wishes going on over here.
Oh, well, now there is. That is not what I was saying.
I would also, as the proud owner of a Windows PC that is bigger than anything else in my house, even my refrigerator, I would say that emulation doesn't even enter the picture for me. I don't emulate anything on my Windows PC.
But I don't.
So I mean, I'm just talking games I can play. You got Quake, you got Unreal Tournament. I got vintage games. I got new games.
You got that C port of Mario 64 that runs laps around anything that Nintendo's ever going to do.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and there's an Ocarina of Time 1 coming any day now. You got Zelda Breath of the Wild running it. Okay, that's actually not a port. That's just that's emulation. Yeah, those still pretty chill.
I think if anyone wants to start a grudge with me regarding best game consoles of all time, this was the way to do it.
Yeah, Brandon, you have 25 seconds to use your veto if you're going to do it.
Man, I'm not going to do it, but I do think it invalidates the list.
I've got spoilers for you. There are at least 2 other, possibly 3 other computers on my list.
Cool.
Here we go.
Okay, well...
And you're going to like Windows way better than these other ones.
That's probably the case.
I don't know if that's true. That seems unlikely.
It just sounds to me like Brandon's never owned a hot PC.
I think that it's against the spirit of best game console of all time as a list. Like, I think that's like, if we're making lists of consoles, I don't know. I think the Spectrum is a game console, not Windows PC.
Tim, you're up next.
Interesting.
Well, okay.
I'm up next. Video game consoles that primarily just run the games and don't do nothing else. I think I'm going to have to deal from the bottom of the deck here, and I'm going to take out one that is not necessarily near what I would, off the top of my head, best game console of all time. Well, I'm going to say one that I would not call the best, though I'm going to pretend it's the best. It's all about the Nintendo Entertainment System, baby.
I heard of that one.
Yeah.
best video game console of all time. You got G.I. Joe. You got Codename Viper.
You got Batman.
You got Vice Project Doom. You've got Journey to Silius. You've got Acclaim's Total Recall. You've got LJN's Friday the 13th.
You got Kickmaster. Don't forget Kickmaster, dude.
Yeah. Oh, Kickmaster? You mean Kickmaster and Demon Sword and the excellent port of Legend of Kage, the Strider game that can we all just admit that the Strider game on the NES is really interesting and deserves to be mentioned alongside the Sega Genesis arcade port, at least every time we talk about Strider. You've got Capcom, you've got Konami, all these game companies running on all cylinders. You've got weird stuff that not enough people talk about, like we don't need to get into all the weird stuff.
I think that's it.
I think Demon Sword and Kickmaster are a couple of good games. Power Blade 2. We can get really, really far without ever mentioning Mario or Mega Man.
Yeah.
We can get very far on the NES.
Okay, Dragon Quest, Final Fantasy,
Dragon Quest, yeah, without mentioning Dragon Quest, Final Fantasy, Mario, Zelda, Metroid. I don't even really like the Metroid on the NES, to be honest. Though we can talk about that in some other day, I believe. Man, yeah, the NES just had a whole lot of hits. And as I mentioned in my review of Doom, or not my review of Doom, my review of Pac-Man, when me and my brother wanted an NES because we'd played Super Mario Brothers. I finally mentioned Super Mario Brothers after saying we didn't need to mention it. After playing Super Mario Brothers for the first time, me and my brother asked my mom to get us a Nintendo for Christmas, and she did not, of course, though we asked, and she was like, you guys already have an Atari, right? And the only game we ever played on Atari was the horrible Pac-Man port. And I said, Mom, Nintendo is the real video games. And I still believe that. Nintendo was the beginning of the real video games. Wouldn't have most of the good stuff without probably the Nintendo. And it is kind of a case where it's like somebody could, like, devil's advocationally say, oh, maybe somebody else would have made a good video game console. I don't know, man. Maybe not.
I don't know if anyone else would have been as cutthroat as Nintendo was to keep that quality going, which I think we all know, all the good things that happened because of that.
The Nintendo seal of approval, their dedication to making sure games had, like, good controls. They were, like, worried about that sort of stuff, like, all the way back then. Whole lot happened on that console.
I want to talk about the longevity of the hardware architecture itself, which is why I nominate it way near the top, not because of its commercial software library. So this is a system that not 1 year since its debut in '83 has gone by without there being commercial software written for this platform.
Oh, incredible.
It has become the hobbyist console at this point. Like, that is just where homebrewers tinker. Like, there are extremely advanced tools at this point for making your own games very, very easily. It is a hardware architecture that was cloned very early, I think literally the 80s, like 89 or something in China. And in the sort of mid-90s in China, a lot of people don't know this, literally millions sold as computers. That was like the computer in China for a few years, and
for families.
And yes, thank you.
Yeah,
exactly.
This was going to be my thing. I was going to be like, Tim, my only problem with this, and you may not be aware of this, you might not know this, but in Japan it is referred to as the family computer, and I don't want to have computers on this list.
We already did a veto, so you're done. You're done.
That was my joke.
Yeah, that seal has been opened.
But I do actually have to say to Frank, you've already wrongified yourself because Windows came out in 1985, and the NES is 2 years older than that and has had a game out every year.
That is not what a Windows computer means. It means essentially DirectX, Windows 95.
Well, I mean, you said Windows PC. That it doesn't mean DirectX. It means it's got Windows on it.
So I remember several times in my life, I have distinct memories of a man named Brandon Sheffield.
Hey, that's me.
Asking me what games for the NES are good.
I've done it.
Right? Like, this has happened several times. And I've given you the same list, like, every time.
I got a bunch of those games.
You ended up getting some of them?
Yeah, I got some of them.
Like, I mean, off the top, I just read a bunch of them off the top of my head earlier, though since, while Frank was talking, I remembered a couple more, such as Little Samson.
Mm-hmm.
Good God, that game.
Yeah, that's a darn good game. And Shatterhand and Low G Man, which I also like.
Yep.
And Golgo 13, the Mafat Conspiracy.
I have all those, by the way.
Golgo 13, Top Secret Episode, and Clash at Demon Head, or a couple more.
Don't buy it, but Euphoria is amazing.
Both of those G.I. Joe games, dude.
Both G.I. Joe games.
Yeah, those Gijo.
Anyway, we've got a lot of systems to go through.
Yeah, we got a lot to go through. Is it better or worse than the Windows PC?
I thought it was vetoed.
No, I didn't
Windows
do it.
PC was not vetoed.
Oh, great. Okay.
Oh, crikey.
Well, I think it is worse.
I think it's better. The end.
Tim?
No. I've got to make the deciding vote here.
Yeah, it's up to you.
My two children. Well, it's a video game console, and the Windows PC is not really a video game console, even though, because I mostly use it to be frustrated and yell at myself.
Me
is
too.
what I mostly use a Windows PC for. So I would have to put it below it. I'm sorry. I got
Below
to.
it?
Yeah. Or above. I would put the Windows PC below the NES.
Yeah. All right.
Because I'm a dirtbag.
That's fair to me. Brandon, what's your first draft pick?
Oh, man, I totally forgot I was even supposed to go. You say first draft pick. That doesn't mean we have to choose our favorite one right away, right?
No, it doesn't.
Okay, good. I'm going to choose Neo Geo Pocket.
NGP.
I think the Neo Geo Pocket is really cool.
Not the Neo Geo Pocket Color?
The Neo Geo Pocket, I'm including the Suite. I'll say the Neo Geo Pocket Color because it runs every Neo Geo Pocket.
Yeah, that's
the right answer.
Except for one.
That's what I would say.
But I might even say the new Neo Geo Pocket Color, which is the slightly smaller hardware revision, had some nice colors. Neo Geo Pocket is unique among handhelds of the era in that really good fighting games, a unique look where, for whatever reason, it was capable of displaying a lot of animation frames, but not enough colors. So it occupies a very strange space where it looks more like a modern indie game when you make it a game on there than a lot of other things do.
It looks like a modern indie game that is like trying to look like an NES game.
Yeah, exactly.
And then not actually because
it's doing a little too advanced stuff sometimes or whatever. And it has the best D-pad. It's a stick. The clicky stick is the best directional controlling device on a handheld.
It's pretty good. Yeah, I don't know. The clicky stick is pretty good, but up against like a great D-pad, it kind of sucks.
Well, I think for the experiences that they were going for on that platform,
which were fighting games, things.
And Metal Slug. You could argue that a D-pad would be better for Metal Slug, possibly.
Yeah, I think it would be.
But for fighting games, probably not.
I guess that makes sense.
I like that Neo Geo Pocket. I think it's good.
I recently played, I believe, every single game ever released for the Neo Geo Pocket. There weren't that many of them. Somehow I've got them all over here, mystically.
Mm-hmm.
They're okay.
Cool.
They're pretty good. They do feel kind of like a reasonable step above your Tiger Electronics handhelds.
Rude. I would say that Neo Geo Pocket games, they have more of a unique vibe. They are more distinct from other games in terms of their presentation and control and what they do than most other handhelds, except perhaps for the Wonder Swan, because they had to be made a certain way within certain constraints, and they were designed around that controller, and so they wind up occupying their own space, and I think that's what makes it better or more interesting than other stuff, because, I don't know, you got generic or you got different.
Where are we ranking it?
Right now it's at the bottom, but who knows about the future? Maybe I'll come up with some stuff that everybody likes worse.
Does everyone else agree that it goes below the PC?
I agree that he's likely to come up with things that I like worse. So, yes, it is, but also it's the bottom so far.
Okay.
I'd put it below the PC.
That's fair.
I owned one once and I enjoyed it. It was delicious. It was a fun little item to own. A curio, one might call it.
It's got SNK vs. Capcom Match of the Millennium. It's got Card Fighters Clash. It's got that weird Sonic game. It's got
Biomotor Unitron.
It's got King of Fighters. 2 King of Fighters. It's got Gals Fighter. It's got
I like Gals Fighter.
It's got a Fatal Fury game. I think the last Fatal Fury game that got made is on there, which is weird.
I've just got to say that if prison bound and packing a backpack, I would probably go with something else.
That's fair.
That's all I would say.
Frank, how are you going to upset us this round?
Oh boy. Okay.
Oh yeah, go wild, go bonkers.
So there's like I want a hobbyist old computer in here, which is sort of primarily, at least historically speaking, a game device. And between the Spectrum and the Atari 800 and the C64, I think I went for the Spectrum, which surprised even me.
The ZX.
The ZX Spectrum, because this is something that was... there's a theme here I noticed when I made this list. Maybe it's just my mood today. I'm looking for democratic video game systems, and this was absolutely one. This is one that was very, very cheap at a time where no other computer was. It was just a thing that pretty much any family could afford. And it's cheap, and it was really fairly simple because it had its own BASIC built in to write games for. So it was like the system that most kids owned, that they also, they used for more than just playing stuff. They used it for making stuff, and they pirated the heck out of games. So like everyone had a really intensely large video game library, and maybe I just kind of wish that I had that instead of like the NES or whatever. I think that would make me, well, I was going to say it'd make me a more interesting person, but God, those games are pretty terrible. But still, like the feeling of sort of having like infinite possibilities in your house when it came to games, I think, there's something kind of magical about that. And it launched the entire UK game dev industry, for better or worse.
Literally every video game developed in the UK to this day contains some reference you won't get unless you had a ZX Spectrum. And I will just say that I as a lifelong ZX Spectrum fan, grew up with one in me country home. I just hate when Americans call it the ZX Spectrum. I just get so upset.
Yeah, it's incorrect, everyone. Don't do that.
Yeah, those Yanks, Actually, I don't think I've ever had a conversation with an American person outside of, the video game podcastosphere or whatever about the ZX Spectrum. I played a couple games on it. Because Bennett Foddy made fun of me once for having never played games on a ZX Spectrum, because he said American people have played too many Japanese video games and not enough British video games. And
debatable.
I asked him to write me up a list, and I'll be goddarned if all them games didn't suck. Some of them were so bad. I had a good time, though. I had a great time.
I think the old ZX Spectrum it's a computer that is full of mystery to me. Like, I look at the colors on that thing and I'm like, why is it like that? Even when weird, it's explained to me, and even understanding it basically, it's still like, why is it like that? Which rules?
Yeah, whenever somebody explains the colors in the ZX Spectrum to me, I have to say, oi gov, are you having a laugh?
Yeah, that's right.
What I have to ask them.
And the answer is yes.
Every single time.
They are having a laugh.
So, like, what are the killer apps on the Spectrum? Like Binkies, Bonkos, Mumpy Winky, Honk Honk, Me Bum's a Governor.
Well, and then there's 12 terrible ports of like Taito arcade games.
Yeah.
There's like a weird Street Fighter on there. But
Elevator Mates.
There's also Lift Mates.
Lift Mates.
Sorry, it's like that Aliens Neoplasma game. Have you all seen that? It's a new it's like a 2019 fan game. It looks so cool. It's like a weird port of Alien 3. It just like looking at it is like, I don't know. It feels like some kind of weird magic making the colors on these things. I love it.
So in terms of ranking, right, I think for me, it comes down to an internal discussion of like, what do I care more about, impact on the world, or like, do I actually want to touch this thing right now? So that's it's given me it's a toss up for me if it's below or above the Neo Geo Pocket Color for that reason.
Yeah, it's a good question, and I obviously agree that it is more important to the world than the Neo Geo Pocket Color. I'd rather play Neo Geo Pocket Color than a ZX Spectrum, but that's not true of everybody. I think probably the ZX Spectrum is more interesting in certain ways, even by my own description of the Neo Geo Pocket being a thing that inspires a unique certain sort of thing, certain sort of software. ZX Spectrum does that even more, perhaps.
Tim, are you good with putting it above the Neo Geo?
Well, shoot. So, Frank, you put it above the Neo Geo?
I didn't put it anywhere.
And I'm waffling.
He was split.
We're all waffling.
Oh. So you're just waiting on everybody else? Is that what it is?
I don't have to. I could make a call if you want me to. I would put it. Yeah, I put it above the Neo Geo Pocket Color.
All right.
Well, shoot.
That's
so now
what it is.
I've got the deciding vote then, or wait, did
That's for two above.
I'd probably put it above also. Yeah.
Well, kill me, Jerry. Keep my vote secret.
Okay.
Keep it secret. Keep it safe.
Tim, you're up next.
I'm up next. Well, somebody's got to do it. So I'm just going to say it's all about that Nintendo DS, Jerry. You play around with that Nintendo DS.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that one
I understand it does run a whole bunch of productivity software. There is a wine sommelier game on it. There is
that McDonald's training thing just got dumped. That's nice.
There's vision training. There's
the Louvre.
There's brain training. There's the recipes. There was like a daily planner game. It's not a game. There was a whole lot of productivity software. Though let's try to just forget about that and talk about the games, Jerry. Many of which were good. The Super Mario 64 port it launched with. That's a joke. That was terrible.
I thought it was good. I liked it.
Man, there's some great RPGs on there. There's a lot of just like weird stuff. The Cooking Mama franchise couldn't really have gotten off the ground without that. I feel like rhythm games, perfect platform for it. I would say of all of the game console form factors that we have lost over the years, the DS is the one that I lament the most because like when it first came out, I thought this is kind of a gimmick. And in a way it was, but it was a gimmick that actually inspired creativity and inspired people to create types of games that they would not have been able to otherwise.
It was Nintendo trying to fight PC emulation or whatever, right? They wanted to give you make sure you had a bad time if you tried to emulate it on a PC. I'm not sure if that was the exact reason they
probably not.
They have succeeded to this day, though. Man, have you tried to play something like well, I'm sure you probably have. Tim, Dragon Quest V or something, right? Like trying to actually make that look nice. It's like you can make one screen look nice
and then have the other one shrunken down.
Yeah.
And it's a headache. It's a nightmare. I don't like it. However, that console was good.
It was,
man. So I loved the Dragon Quest 4, 5, 6 remakes for that. Even though every time I mention that, somebody tells me that like one of them didn't have party chat in English, and I'm like, I didn't play it in English, so I don't know. I'm sorry. I cannot comment on the English version that was missing some of the translation. I really liked that. I think it's called Sands of Destruction in English. Sands of Destruction.
Yeah.
World Destruction, it was called in Japanese. I really liked that stupid game, man. Just a big, giant, weird, sprawling RPG. I liked the Taito's Chronicles of Dungeon Maker spinoff that they made for the DS. Everybody played the one on PSP, of course. One of the most famous games of all time. That's a joke. PSP, I wouldn't put on this list. No offense to it. Though I really like the Chronicle of Dungeon Maker DS game. There's a lot of DS games that are way more obscure that are pretty great. I was in Japan at that time, being able to strut into a soft map like a month after a bunch of games had come out and just buy them for like $5 new because people were just it was shovelware, but they didn't even know it. You know what I mean? It was like people were making games and they didn't know that it was destined for the bargain bin. They were just swinging for the fences.
Yeah.
And there were fences everywhere.
It was the last gasp of the kind of PlayStation 2 era. We could make something kind of like, so Devil Survivor is a Shin Megami Tensei game on there that I am particularly enamored
Devil
of.
Survivor.
Gave me a lot of influences for later. But I think most importantly to me about the DS is I will still sometimes have an idea for a video game, and then I'll be like, "Oh wait, that's for the DS. You can't make that because it needs to be on the DS." This idea.
Shin Megami Tensei: Strange Journeys on there. Etrian Odyssey games got started on there. I still maintain that those Zelda games that were on the DS were fantastic. The ones where you're just drawing paths and you take notes on the bottom screen, little things like that. It was just a wonderful system with a million, billion, trillion weird little video games on it.
Yep.
It was a beautiful thing.
It's like the first and last time that something actually interesting happened with game hardware that was fully embraced.
Yeah.
I mean,
totally.
the Wii, that happened, but I wouldn't say it was nearly as embraced as the features in the DS. And I don't know that's ever going to happen again. It's like the last gasp of not being standardized in terms of controlling video games.
So where does this go? Middle of the list?
My vote is for the top.
Yeah, let's go ahead and be weird and put it above the NES.
I'm good with that. Yeah.
I like that
Yeah,
too.
I mean, I could talk in a lot more detail about the Nintendo DS, but I don't think anybody would be interested in hearing like a top 20 DS games list. Probably that would be nobody.
We could do that later.
That was a joke, man.
So Tim, I'm gonna need you to start getting weirder because you're taking all the systems that I feel I could actually speak to.
Oh well, shoot.
No,
okay, I'll see what I can do.
Please don't keep putting those on there, so then I don't have to.
Yeah, force us into a corner. Brandon, speaking of which,
I just took the DS off of my list of things to recommend, so please
I'm
continue.
just holding out so that I can announce my number one. All I really care about is my number one. So, because I've recently come to a decision.
Me?
Ooh, that's interesting.
Okay, man, it's tough because of various reasons. Tim just said he wouldn't put the PSP on this list. I was about to put the PSP on this list.
Do it.
No,
I won't
he also
veto
said
it.
he's not going to veto. So yeah.
Yeah, he also said he's not going to veto. I'm going to think about it.
I also really like the PSP. So I mean, whatever.
Yeah. So
I have a reason that I wouldn't put it on the list that I could talk about.
Man, I just can't decide what to put next here. How many do I have left? I got 6 left.
You got 6 left.
Okay.
God, we're gonna have to speed this up, boys.
Yeah, we got.
Yeah.
Heck. Okay, I am. In that case, I am going to do the PSP. Why not?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So here's why I say the PSP. I say the PSP because it was the best console for being on the train and playing a long sit-down RPG kind of thing, or playing fighting games of the modern era on a handheld platform. It feels like the Switch without docking ability in the way that it was. And they tried to do that PSP Minis thing. Didn't really work out, but they gave it a shot.
They sure did.
Especially with RPGs, and you got your Brave story, you got Jeanne d'Arc, you got
You've got Tenchi no Mon, you've got Monster Kingdom Jewel Summoner, you've got a Chronicle of Dungeon Maker, Chronicle of Dungeon Maker 2, you've got the excellent Hudson developed beautiful minimalist one-on-one-ish, first-person shooter-ish, third-person shooter maze navigation game, Rengoku and Rengoku 2. I could go on. Probably nobody's interested in hearing a top 20,
top 20
PSP games.
Yeah,
probably nobody.
Yeah, and
probably
then
nobody.
I don't like Monster Hunter personally at all. But there's no denying it had an influence, and it was on there. And the PSP, goddarn, 85 million something units sold of that thing. It's like part of why I want to put it on this list is because I feel like it is bizarrely under-discussed for how popular it was. And then the cataclysmic fall from there to the Vita, where you only sold about 5 million units.
Can I just say, I think the Vita kind of sucks.
I wish it didn't.
I honestly, I would love nothing more than for the Vita to not suck. I still, to this day, get people asking when my video game is getting ported to Vita or whatever, which just drives me completely bonkers. It's
now impossible.
Because it's like, man, that was 5 years ago. The Vita's dead, man. Though, enough about that. I was working at Sony Computer Entertainment Japan at the time. PSP was out and wild, and it had that Ridge Racers on it. That Ridge Racer game is... Yeah. I never thought it would be fun at all to play a portable racing game, and then there it was. I am a person of somewhat difficult optometric situations, so it has always been very difficult for me to play portable games, though the PSP was the first portable game console that was bright enough and big enough of a screen for me to just kind of be able to very comfortably see the games being played on it. The DS Lite was the second one that was comfortable enough for me to. The original DS, not so much. So I liked it for that. I did not like that the PSP's audio volume was like so low. Like you could not really use it as a music device. So you could run emulators on it, which I know is outside the scope of this discussion. It was being pitched internally by Sony as the next Walkman. It was like their big chance to just kind of really redefine the world. And then the iPod and the iPhone happened in short order and kind of left the PlayStation in the dust. It required the memory sticks.
That's my big complaint is the memory stick.
The memory stick, man. If the Vita would have used SD cards, man, the PSP is just it's frustrating to think about because it opens the door to just all of these sad ruminations on how stuff generally in the world could have been better.
Yeah.
And though there are so many games on the PSP I love, I just maintain to this day Chronicle of Dungeon Maker, one of my favorite games of all time. Just absolutely. You've played that one, right, Brandon?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely gorgeous video game. Just one of my favorites. And it's just, there's all sorts of stuff. Man, god darn it, PSP was cool.
Yeah. Also, I think we can all agree that UMDs are hilarious.
Yes.
Yeah, that was another problem, man. Those stupid UMDs. Loading times were so long on like everything. It was a real shame about that. Those stupid discs.
Where does it go on our list?
Definitely, I'd put it below the NES.
Yeah.
Because it don't got no Kickmaster on it.
That's about, I'd put it about there myself.
Above the PC?
I put it below the PC.
I'd put it above the PC.
Yeah, I put it below the PC because it
Below
don't
the
got Quake on it.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, but above the spectrum.
It's probably homebrew Quake, but
I forgot to mention this, though. The reason we put the Nintendo DS over the NES is because Legend of Kage 2 by Taito was better than Legend of Kage 1. It just was.
It's a good
Game's
reason.
brilliant. Very underrated video game. Legend of Kage 2, everybody. Get on it.
All right, 5 draft rounds remain. Frank, you're up.
all right. It's gonna have to do it, man. The PS2. It's got them.
Here we go.
Oh!
Yeah, I knew I wouldn't have to put that one on the list.
Yeah, PS2, baby.
I gotta start claiming systems on the board before they go and stop going for the Frank stuff.
PS2 is hilarious.
I love the PS2. It's got the Grand Theft Autos. It's got the Metal Gears. I think AAA game design pretty much started and stopped here, and that's not a complaint. But I think
Stopped?
I think
You mean stopped evolving or what?
yeah, pretty much. I mean, I think everything's been incremental since then. Like, I think this is the last big leap in what AAA games are and how they're defined. And again, I don't think that's a complaint. I think it's just a way of explaining how important and great this system was. A lot of weird games there, right? I mean,
PS2 it's a very insert credity system because it's got a lot of weird games. It's got a lot of trash. It's got a lot of high end stuff. It's got a lot of high concept stuff.
Oh yeah.
I was recently thinking to myself about the PS2, sorry, because of this list, and thinking that I think I actually rate the PS2 much lower than I used to, simply because I keep going back and trying to play PS2 games, and I find because they're in that spot where they're like many of the games did figure out how to evolve into something more modern, the lack of modernity in a lot of the games in certain areas feels more glaring than in the era like PS1 Saturn, where they were very clearly trying to figure it out. So I find, for example, playing RPGs on the PS2 to often be an incredibly slow experience, not just from a design standpoint, but just like waiting for animations to complete or waiting for loading, or like, I don't know, try to play Ark the Lad for PS2 in the modern era. It's slow and plodding. So it's a weird one for me because obviously the PS2 is great and it's got a lot of super amazing nonsense on it. But whenever I try to play some of that nonsense, I'm like, man, this could be so much better. And it's so clear how it could or should be. Not that they would have had the time to do it. It's just, I feel like it being so close to the modern era, it's hard to not look at it that way for me. But I really like it. That's just all my thoughts.
What the answer you're looking for, Brandon, is get owned. You gotta play better stuff on the PS2.
No thanks.
There's so much good stuff. There's so much good stuff that is
good stuff's boring.
That is unequaled, unrivaled, and also, I mean, just stuff that people didn't look for. I'm trying to think of stuff that didn't like have a version for the GameCube and the Xbox or whatever all at the same time. Just like true PS2 original games.
Well, I mean, we're both students of Raw Danger, I'd say.
Raw Danger is the cream of the top. You've got Bumpy Trot, Ponkotsu Roman Daikatsugeki Bumpy Trot. Oh, I'm sorry. I think you all might know it as Steambot Chronicles. You've got that game. You've got Gradius 5, dude. That's a joke. Gradius 5 blows. I do not like Gradius 5. I think it's one of Treasure's worst games of all time.
Good. And Thunder Force 6 is also not very good.
Contra Shattered Soldiers, all right. Neo Contra, hecka good. Oh, wait, have you heard of a game called Silent Hill 2? Have you heard of a game called Silent Hill 3?
Yeah, I heard of those. R-Type Final.
R-Type Final is quite legit. Any game with a gear shift button, Jerry.
Weird old Dragon Dragoon.
Yeah, Dragon Dragoon 2.
Dragon
I love
Dragoon.
dragging that Dragoon on. Dragon Dragtoon. You got your Tokimeki Memorial 3
I do have
on there, which is not very good. It's not a good one, I'm sorry. What games debuted on the PlayStation 2 that were quite important? I can't think of any. That's a joke. There was Persona 4.
My favorite 3D fighting game of all time, Garuda and Break
King of
Blow,
Fighters
Mr.
Maximum
Twist.
Impact 2.
Yeah.
King of Fighters Maximum Impact 2.
Nice.
Garuda, Break Blow, Fist or Twist.
You know it.
There was Berserk, Millennium Falcon Hen, Seima Senki no Show. And who can forget that one, right? One of the best action games of all time. I've got a stack of PS2 games on top of my TV. However, I promise you I'm not reading their names because me no see so good. I can't actually see that far. So I cannot actually read them. And also they're in Japanese. I don't read this chicken scratch. That's a joke.
We definitely
I do.
can spend the rest of the show talking about the PS2, but I think now's a good time to rank it and move on.
Grand Theft Auto 3, dude.
We should just let people know that we did a whole episode about it.
Absolutely,
In case they
you
don't
can.
know. We did a best PS2 games of all
It'll
time.
be in the show notes.
It's got Bujin Guy on it, man.
Bujingai. Anyway, my vote is for it being number 2. After all that stuff I said.
Number 2 under which console?
Under Nintendo DS.
Wow.
Ooh, the Nintendo dudes. Me gonna go ahead and say, no, PS2's got to be up on top, dude. It's got to be Matrix Path of Neo. Come on.
Frank, you're the deciding vote.
My vote was either number 1 or number 4 based on the list.
Huh.
So,
Ooh,
what is
odd.
the splitting the difference here?
It's either above or below the Nintendo DS.
Yep.
Oh, I'm fine with it being above the NES. So, I'm gonna put it number 1.
Number 1.
Yeah!
Okay.
Heck,
It's got Raw Danger on it, dude.
something
That's
tells me
it.
that it's going to stay there.
That's possible.
Yeah. Well,
Well, at the
maybe
end of
it
the
won't.
show, we can re-rank. So,
That's true.
Yeah, I don't think we will.
Tim, you're up next.
Oh, it's time for me, hey. This is my contribution number 3. Is that true?
Correct.
Okay, well, let's see. What video game consoles do I like? See, this is turning out to be some sort of a Jack 2 problem. That remember how we didn't have Jack 2 on the PlayStation 2 list? Even though,
Yes.
in my opinion, it's the best PlayStation 2 game of all time. And it's just hilarious that it wasn't mentioned. Like, are we just all sitting here just expecting someone else to mention the Dreamcast? Is that what's going on
Yeah, I
here?
was waiting for it.
It may or may not be what's going on.
Yeah, like what the heck? I don't know, bro. I can't really think of too many video game consoles that I would foist upon this discussion.
Well, we got 7. You got to think of 7 of them.
Well, yeah, this is what I'm saying. I can't really think of too many consoles that I don't think somebody else is going to mention. Though if Frank is trying to be some sort of contrarian with this,
I'm not being a contrarian.
you're not.
I'm
well, I mean,
leaning
you did
toward
just mention PS2.
Right, exactly, and I'm leaning toward historical importance, not like game library. So
I mean, so we've got a whole bunch of cool video game consoles coming out.
Love those.
Yeah, or a couple of consoles that are definitely going to come up on this show. Might as well pop a couple of them out there. Frank said PS2, which I was going to say. So I'll just go ahead and say Super Nintendo, man. Whatever.
Let's
You
do
all
it.
play that thing?
I love the Super
Console's
Nintendo.
bonkers. This is the one Brandon's going to veto.
Super Family Computer. No, I'm not going to.
The Super Family Computer was brilliant.
It's got Nihon Telnet games on it. It's got Hudson
It's got a
games
whole
on
bunch
it.
of them.
Yeah,
It's got Hudso. It's got maybe the 4th best Adventure Island game is on there.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
It doesn't have a whole lot of shooters. That's maybe my only complaint with that.
That's because
console. Don't
and
like
the
the
Madden
sound chip.
was too slow. It didn't
Yeah.
run as fast as the Genesis one. That's not true. I don't think that's true. That's just what all the kids at school said.
Didn't have the blast processor.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. It's got definitely the absolute worst version of Tokimeki Memorial that nobody should play, and it's not a good substitute for playing any of the better versions. So don't play it. People keep asking me what I think of the fan translation in progress. Just don't play it. It's the trash can version. I'm sorry. What else can I say? It's got the best versions of Dragon Quest 1, 2, and 3. It's got I still the best. You know what? I've come all the way around. Still the best version of Dragon Quest 5. Excellent version of Dragon Quest 6. It's got Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy 4, 5, and 6. It's got a whole lot of really hot, sweet games. It's got, you know what? It's got the best Zelda game on it, too. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. That's the best Zelda. Zelda 3, A Link to the Past. It just is.
It's got Psycho Dream. It's got Brain Lord.
It's got it's got the best 2D Metroid on it. I said it. I think it's better than Metroid Fusion. I'm sorry. I sometimes say I think Metroid Fusion is better than Super Metroid. I don't know. After playing Metroid Dread, I no longer think Metroid Fusion is better than Super Metroid. I don't know what that means.
You know what? That's fair. I get it.
I have no idea what that means.
No. I get that.
Wait, what do you mean? You get it?
Yeah,
okay,
I get
good.
It. I mean, Metroid Dread kind of points out in being closer to Fusion than it is to Super Metroid what the difference is between those two games, and kind of throws into sharp contrast what Super Metroid had going for it.
I think the Super Nintendo does. Well, we can subtract a point because it does have a Castlevania that's not good on it, which is Super Castlevania 4.
I cannot believe that people like that game.
It's so weird. Like when I mentioned not liking it on a stream, and I got like emails from people being like, "How can you? You've said some elitist things in the past. How can you say this?" And I was like, "Man, are you really gonna stand up for Super Castlevania 4? It's okay. I don't know. It's kind of a baby's toy of a video game. Yeah." What were you going to say about it, Frank?
Baby's toy of a video game is a really good description of it. I mean, it's as if they did a 4 on the NES and their hearts just weren't in it, except that there's more colors and some Mode 7 stuff. It's just not very good. It's the Mega Man 4 of the Castlevanias. There we go.
Ooh, harsh.
Oh, crike. Castlevanias 2 and 3 stepped it up, you know? They added some flavor and some new stuff.
Below the NES?
I just want to clarify my position on the Super Nintendo because people think I don't like it. I do like it. I think it's really neat. It's an interesting console.
It has a good bonk on it.
Here's where I've sort of been coming from. I do feel like there are a lot of games on there that use the Super Nintendo's unique properties such as transparency and rotation and the ability to play samples in very lazy ways.
Mm-hmm.
And those games are not very interesting. And because it was so easy to do that stuff, some people got away with doing less and having it seem like more. On the other hand, there are some games that use all that stuff in such innovative and interesting ways that still make it seem kind of impossible and just make it look like it's the next generation of video games in 2D already. And I find that incredibly impressive.
Also, being not very good at utilizing the sound hardware invented the entire musical genre of grime.
Grime, the hip-hop genre?
Grime, the sort of British... maybe you don't know, it's heavily understood among grime fans that the first grime song was the boss theme in Wolverine Adamantium Rage.
Yes.
Cool game.
No, it is not. Wait a minute. What?
That's weird because the Genesis version of that game has like literal actual doom metal.
Oh, completely different soundtrack, and it's someone
totally different.
Who did not really understand how to like effectively use the system, and is like, okay, I can do within the 64 kilobytes or whatever, I can have 8 samples. I'll just repeat them a lot, and it just created a bad genre of music.
And then I like that genre of music. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you got that goddamn Waterworld soundtrack, which is like absolutely masterful use of
the
sampling and stuff like that. That thing is like, that's just music. It's just straight up, that's music is what is playing on that one.
So I just want to say that we did do an episode ranking Super Nintendo games before. Mm-hmm. Since then, I play a lot of Super Nintendo games. I play a lot of Super Nintendo games over here at my house on my analog Super NT with the Super FX Pack Pro plugged into it. I've got a whole lot of games like Robo Trek, ActRaiser 2. I've been playing a lot of games that I had sort of overlooked or never really played too much of. There are so many games still I'm finding on the Super Nintendo.
Heck bunch of games on there.
I mean, I went through and played most of Angelique recently, the original Angelique game. I've just went back and have played so much stuff.
You ever play Hagane?
I played Hagane, and the game's incredible.
Yeah.
Weird, weird, sort of ugly, beautiful game.
We should do that list again in a year. Give me a year and I will actually get my flash cart set up and I'll properly play all the weirdo games I've been wanting to play on there.
I like that
idea. I love the whole Goemon series is on there. I'm going to say, like, based on like what I've experienced on the Super Nintendo in the last year, I used to always say best game console of all time, dude. And I don't really know if I believe that anymore, though. I do think it's better than the PS2. I think there's just some bonkers stuff on there that I'm still finding.
What do the rest of you feel like?
For me, it's number 3 on this list that we currently have going.
Okay, I was thinking number 2. So I think that slots nicely. And
the
reason being is that I'm also kind of thinking of these just from a tech perspective too. I'm trying to just go a little bit beyond like the game library, and I'm with Brandon on this, in that I think that the hardware specs for this system are like the Mode 7 thing is kind of interesting, but it does lead to, I agree, some sort of copy paste laziness. I think the worst offender of that is the Game Boy Advance, and if anyone brings that one up, I'm gonna own you.
Or veto it.
Oh man,
Game Boy Advance is pretty good though, dude.
Yeah,
so you're putting it under the PS2. Go for it.
That's where it is. Brandon,
You clearly haven't played
pick.
Goemon 2 recently, but it's
I played
okay.
the first one.
The second one, dude. It's all about the third one, dude. The fourth one also, as they're all on the Super Nintendo.
Jeffy, how many do I have left? Do I have
this is your third of 7.
Oh my
this is
god.
my third of 7.
3 of 7.
I got 4 left after this one.
Yeah.
You crack open a hot one, Jerry.
I guess this is gonna be a long episode. Sorry. Okay. Well, man.
Crack open a cold one, bro.
Shall I? Shall I crack open? I'm not sure.
I'm literally out, by the way. My list is done. I'm improvising at this point.
Oh, really?
My list of 7 is complete. So
okay, well that's
Great.
good news.
Congratulations.
Because then
I'll feed you a couple if you need one.
Yeah, Frank, let me slip you a few.
Yeah.
Now I'm a little worried about whether my choices will get in here. And so I'm not sure whether to do a weird one or a different kind of weird one. Shoot. Dare I do the Neo Geo? The Neo Geo home console?
You could, if you want to.
I don't want to veto the Neo Geo, but
you know what? I think actually I'm gonna take it back, because I love the Neo Geo. I think all that stuff on there is cool, but it's all emulated and stuff. I mean, and it's been re-released on everything. Actually, take an emulation out of it. It's been gutted out. So maybe I won't do that. Heck, I guess I gotta choose one of the real ones on my list. God darn it! I was hoping somebody else would do it.
Choose a real one, Jerry.
I'll put the Saturn on here. I mean, I might as well be the guy.
Bingo!
I mean, I love
Best
the Saturn.
version of Tokimeki Memorial.
Y'all know I love the Saturn. It's a mess. It's a
nightmare.
You like one of the reasons why I love video games on the Saturn, as messed up as they often are, is because I know how hard they had to try just to get stuff going on there. And when someone makes something good with it, it's like, wow, you really tried extremely hard. You can see the work in a Saturn game. All the 3D stuff is like tilted, weird, skewed sprites and stuff. Like, I don't know, man. You can do transparency back to the background layer, but you can't do it on top of another thing. And it's a nonsense platform that was originally, of course, designed to be a great 2D system, which it was in some ways, but they didn't have very complicated transparency stuff going on. But it's got wild rotation and scaling and number of sprites that it can display, and a lot of RAM for the time. And that's why you had arcade perfect ports of all the Street Fighters, and all the fighting games were good on there. A lot of good shooters. Panzer Dragoon Saga, Panzer Dragoon Zwei. You had Sonic R, which I love.
I love Sonic R. Game's stupid as heck.
Big fan of that game.
You ever play Sonic R on your Retro Tink 5X?
I never did.
Because I do.
Anyway, the Saturn is like, that was a place of experimentation and difficulty where people figured out a lot of stuff, didn't figure out a lot of stuff, but really tried a lot of things. Like that, as I've mentioned this before, but I believe the first fully 3D RTS is on the Saturn, called Pup Breeder. Can't find an earlier one. It's not very good, but I believe it is the first one. It's wild stuff. Like, there's other ones with 3D backgrounds or 3D characters, but not both. But this one, it's everything. It's got a HUD, a little mini map. It's got the objectives. Send your troops off to do. It doesn't matter. Saturn. It's got Dark Savior.
It's got Dark Saber. Yeah, Dark Saver. I believe is the way the katakana is supposed to be pronounced. But that doesn't make any sense. Kind of like Steel Princess on the Nintendo DS. Dark Savior is one of the most beautiful and interesting, meticulously strange video games ever made.
It's got Daytona. It's got all those blue skies and game stuff. It's just it's got all the Sega ports for the arcade games.
Best 3D Sonic game on it. That's a joke about how there's Sonic R isn't really a Sonic game, and also all of the 3D Sonic games kind of suck. It's my joke about that.
I get it.
It's got Shining Force 3.
Yeah.
Yes, Mom, I've played all 3 parts. Has anybody else on this show played all 3 parts?
I haven't. Did you play Premium Disc as well?
Oh, I played all the discs, yeah.
Nice.
So sounds like I win as regards to Sega Saturn. Panzer Dragoon Zwei, one of the top 10 best video games ever made. I've come around on Panzer Dragoon Saga and definitively put it underneath Panzer Dragoon Zwei, so that's fun in case anybody needed to know.
I like Saga a lot myself.
I like it a lot. Really cool game. Though the broken nonsense kind of outweighs it kind of clusterfies the cool stuff. The Sega Saturn is neat. There's a whole lot of
got Knights on there. They got the 3D analog pad.
Yeah, Knights a good weird game.
But how neat is it? Where does it go on the list?
I gotta put it under the Super Nintendo, dude. It can't go above the Super Nintendo.
Yeah, to me, it's number one, but I know it's not going to
really.
Be
Wow. To me, it's below Windows.
Yeah,
really
below
interesting,
Windows.
But it's still sort of niche, and most of the ideas didn't really go anywhere, although they are kind of neat. So,
I mean, Frank, I privilege interesting over almost anything else when it comes to these. So that's that. I'm just explaining that's why it's number one.
And I think there's more interesting games on number 1 through 5 on the list right now. On average than on Saturn, and that's only because of how limited the library was, I'm sure.
It's not that limited.
It seems like the average between these opinions is between the NES and the DS.
There's like 1,200 games.
Brandon, it sounds like you never played Wolf Team's Neugear for the Super Famicom.
I actually didn't play Neugear.
Oh, you should play the game it owns, dude.
I played Psychic Dream.
I can't put the
Psychic Dream's
Saturn
cool.
above the NES. Come on.
Oh man, I can.
NES has. Is there a game called Kickmaster on the Sega Saturn?
Not that I know
Let
of.
me just check. I don't think there is either.
Right.
So
let's put it below the NES, but above the PC.
The Nintendo Entertainment System.
I'll just grumble silently.
It's time for round 4. Frank, you're up.
Okay. Should I do the oddball one or the obvious?
Do the obvious one.
Do them both. 2 at once.
Again, I was going for like historically interesting and democratic and inspirational, and I had the Apple II on here, but I don't know that I can really back that up. So I'm gonna throw that away.
Is that the one with number munchers?
Yeah, it is. In fact,
yeah.
I'm gonna throw that away and just throw the obvious Sega Genesis on here.
Nice.
Ooh,
Sega Jam.
okay,
Nice.
so actually,
Nice.
I believe it's called the Mega Drive.
The Mega Drive, right? Excuse me.
Yeah, because it's called that in more territories than the Genesis.
The Mega Genesis.
Who came up with the name Sega Genesis? What? That's
That was me.
Such
Sorry.
a stupid name. You shouldn't have done
Well,
it,
that's
dude.
that
Sorry about
marketing. It's probably that Al
you
Nilsson
shouldn't have-
guy. Would be my
Brandon, you shouldn't have come up with that name. He's now
sorry.
been shot and punched through a
I'm dead.
glass window.
I mean, it's got all them interesting games, of course, but it's
Uh-huh.
also,
Yes.
Ranger X.
It created, it stopped the monopoly of Nintendo, which I think we can
It
all,
was the
all be
Mistopoly,
thankful
yeah.
for.
In America.
In
anyway.
America.
In Japan, PC Engine was doing
PC
that.
Engine, of course, yeah. I don't know. It still feels like the punk system of that time to me, even though clearly that would be the TurboGrafx. But it,
Oh,
No,
yeah.
I think I would say it's more of the punk system, even though I agree it probably isn't. I think it actually
it
is.
just feels like it. I don't know.
If that makes sense.
It had Dune, the Battle for Arrakis. It had the Good Maddens. It had the Naughty Dog's Rings of
But
Power.
everything just felt a little grungier than Super Nintendo, like
Yep.
Buck Rogers Countdown to Doomsday. Put that
Yeah.
alongside Chrono Trigger. Beautiful game, by the way. Buck Rogers Countdown to Doomsday. Y'all ever play that
a little
one?
bit.
It's a port of a PC game, but the Genesis version has a whole lot of really interesting stuff in it. So that's a cool one.
I agree with you, Frank, that everything feels grimier and grungier. And to go along with what I was saying about the Saturn, it really felt like when people got the Genesis to do cool stuff that they were wizards or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like that that Batman and Robin, Adventures of Batman and Robin game. I've listened to the breakdown from John, what's his name of TT Games. Yeah. John, what's his last name?
I don't know, but that's a
John Big Boy.
Burton. John Burton.
You know what? That's my recommendation, so we can write that down. Okay, anyway, go on.
Oh, man, I love watching those videos from that guy. They're so fun. He's broken down how all of those techniques in that game were not actually that complex.
For him.
For him. But I think that what's interesting about that is less that he's like, this is easy to do. It's more that, like, it's inspirational in that you could probably do this. If the NES is the homebrew platform of now, I think the Genesis is like the punk version of that, because there are also a lot of games getting made for Genesis right now on improving tools, and people are making weird stuff on there, and it's really cool. I love that Genesis. And when you can get the sound chip to sound good,
the sound chip was born sounding good, Jerry.
It was born sounding good, but then so you're familiar with the Gems?
Then Gems took over.
Gems is the sound driver that Sega would provide to developers, and any game that sounds like farts is using Gems.
Love it.
But there are some good Gems games.
There's some good Gems games for sure, but also, Brandon, you might be pleased to know that the author of Gems is an employee at Other Ocean.
Ooh.
Oh, really?
Bert Schroeder.
Incredible.
Oh, man, I got to come over there and have a conversation, because that's pretty fun.
Yeah. Bert is great. We both have to like hang out with Bert and ask him about making 3DO games.
Yeah, let's do it. Oh, yeah.
Anyway, Sega Genesis has Contra Hardcore.
Yep.
The best Contra.
Castlevania Bloodlines.
The best Castlevania. I just said it out loud. Somebody else might want to try saying it some other time. It's got Sonic the Hedgehog 1, 2, 3, and Sonic and Knuckles. The best Sonic game is Sonic and Knuckles.
Correct.
Even though Sonic the Hedgehog 2 is the best Genesis game. Doesn't make sense, I know. It's got Ristar, totally the best game alongside Vector Man.
Ristar rules. Oh man, Vector Man rules.
Vector Man 2 rules. Comic Zone, that's not it, mate.
No.
It's got Phantasy Star 2, 3, and 4, 2 of which suck, 3 of which are very interesting, and 1 of which is legitimately great role-playing game. Sword of Vermilion, weird RPG. I like Sword of Vermilion. I recently got into that game. It's got Shinobi 3, dude.
Yep.
Streets of Rage 2, Streets of Rage 3.
Heck yeah.
Streets of Rage 3, the best Streets of Rage game. And maybe the best beat 'em up of all time. It's just got a whole lot of tasty ones on there. And I bust out my Genesis all the time.
And it also has, in my opinion, the best homebrew for old game console game of the last 10 years, Xenocrisis. So,
well, this is it. We're settling it. Is it better than the SNES?
I still put it below the NES, honestly. This top 4 is still feeling right to me.
Oh, crike, mate.
I'd put it back up at number 1 again, but this time it's different. It's less because of interestingness and more because it's like, when I think about the platonic ideal of I would like to play a video game, I immediately go to, let's slap something in the Sega Genesis. For me, I acknowledge that that's not rational.
I'm just going to say, Brandon, you got to come over here sometime and check out my 77-inch OLED with my Analog Mega SG and a nice flash cartridge. And I've got the 8-bit DOE. The 8-bit DOE Genesis pad, the wireless one, fantastic.
Well, I'll see you in about 5 minutes. I'll head over.
I've got a whole new extreme appreciation. Can we just say, okay, are we bundling Sega Genesis together with the 32X and the Sega CD?
So if we're bundling it with the Sega CD, then it's a little different for me. I wasn't sure. This was my biggest question, like, does the Sega CD count when it adds additional hardware capability?
Are we considering the cinematic universe of the Sega Genesis, or just? But
I think cinematic universe is okay. But then we got like Sonic CD. We got the Lunar series begins here. We got Android Assault, which I really like. We got the Shining
Super
Force
Shark
collection, which is all the Game Gear games remade for the Sega CD, which rules. I mean, I really like the weird old Sega CD.
Shining Force 1 and 2 on the Sega Genesis. Landstalker is one of the top 10 best games of all time.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, when I think in terms of top 10 best video games of all time, or how many top 10 entries are on a system, I think the Genesis somehow beats the Super Nintendo, in my opinion.
Me too.
But I've played so much weird stuff on the Super Nintendo very recently. I don't know. I have to put it under the Super Nintendo. I would have to do it.
So I think the compromise spot is number 3.
Son of a...
Number 3?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Because Brandon wants to put it at the top. Frank wants to put it at 5. You want to put it under the SNES, so 3 is the compromise spot.
3 is under the SNES. That's exactly where you wanted it to.
Yeah.
Shoot. Yeah, I guess I forgot the SNES was number 2.
I was going to say, if it's above NES, if it's above NES, I'm fine with it being above DS. Nothing matters anymore. No, it's just like the ranking gets weird. It's the same as what Tim said earlier, where Sonic & Knuckles is the best Sonic game, but Sonic 2 is the best Genesis game. Doesn't make sense. So
it doesn't make any sense.
It's the same thing here, where it's like, true. Well, if it's below the NES, it's above the DS. That's how I feel.
Tim, you're up next.
I'm up next. Well, we're talking Sega here on the show.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and say not the Game Gear, right? Because we're not gonna. The Game Gear's not gonna come up.
Come on,
right?
Yep.
So let's give an honorable mention to the Game Gear.
10 more to go. So
an honorable mention to the Game Gear. Thanks for trying on that one. Brandon, you can't possibly nominate the Game Gear.
I could nominate it for number 21.
This is what we call a pre-veto.
We're talking Sega here. We're talking Sega.
Yeah.
We've already done Saturn. We've done Genesis. Yeah. I'm going to do the other Sega console, Sega Dreamcast.
Oh, yeah.
Here we go.
Number 1
Sonic
again.
Adventure, not a very good game. Loved it. Soul Calibur. Once everybody in my dorm learned Nightmares 1 combo, and I knew how to beat it, and everybody got mad at me. Wonderful game.
Yeah.
Though also all the other stuff, it's just tasty and weird.
It's got a Berserk. It's got Sengoku Turb. It's got
Shenmue.
It's got Shenmue. It's got Illbleed on there. The weird, bizarre horror camp nonsense.
It's got Climax Landers, which sucks.
Yes, it has a Blue Stinger, really which both sucks and rules.
Yeah, it totally rules. Time. Yeah.
For me, the Dreamcast was a hope for the future for me. When I played that thing for the first time, 1998, with my Dreamcast imported from Japan because my stepmother's coworker was going there exactly during the launch of the Dreamcast. I was able to get it before everybody else, and I had it here. And I turned it on, and I was like, this was 1998. I had barely seen ads for this thing. I'd seen some blurry screenshots. And I was going from the PlayStation 1 and Saturn to this deal, and I was like, man, it's happening. And we've discussed how Dreamcast games look different than other things because they have higher texture memory, somewhat lower poly count, so they wind up having to make games that look a little different. It's also extremely blue sky in games, the last era of blue sky in games until indies reclaimed it in the last 10 years. And it's such an arcade console. They ported a lot of things over to it, but then when they did the old Adamus wave, that's just a Dreamcast. It's not even a modified Dreamcast. It's just it's just a Dreamcast. You can still use the.
It's just been stretched to fit into an arcade cabinet.
Yeah. You can use the Dreamcast fishing controller. They found that when they got the one fishing game for Adamus Wave ported to Dreamcast, when they were doing all that quote porting of Adamus Wave games to Dreamcast, you could just use the Dreamcast fishing controller. Nothing had to be done because that's what they used in the arcade. They just reshaped that. It was the exact same thing. So I love it. Love the Dreamcast.
Dreamcast rules.
Yeah. You want to rank it?
What else is on the Dreamcast that rules, though? Let's just name some. Let's name some games. NFL 2K was good.
Capcom vs. SNK 2, all the Capcom ports.
The Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 definitive version.
That's where I played the Bangai-O.
Bangai-O, beautiful. Yeah, you know what? It was the best version of Bangai-O.
Yes. Napple Tale featuring music by Kano Yoko.
Oh yeah, excellent.
No Panzer Dragoons on there, unfortunately.
There's no Sonics on the Saturn, no Panzer Dragoons on the Dreamcast.
What were they thinking? You got Skies of Arcadia.
Skies of Arcadia is a beautiful video game, the likes of which we don't really see.
You got the old Rez, even though it came out after it came out on the PS2. Not my fault.
Yeah, very odd.
Yeah.
We have Skies of Arcadia did also come out on the GameCube with the
it's true, but that
decreased encounter rate. Though let's face it, that's a goddarn Dreamcast game if ever there was one.
Oh yeah.
On the other hand, it did have Sonic Adventure 2.
That knocks it down a few points.
And Sonic Shuffle.
Sonic Shuffle was kind of a disaster as well.
I think you could take Sonic Adventure 1 and make a 5-minute supercut. That's a pretty good game.
Yeah, I mean, you can make a 5-minute supercut. That's excellent.
A really
probably.
solid hour of Sonic Adventure, I
Mhm.
think. I think you can make a full hour of like mind blow and then just call it a day.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just mess with chows after that for the rest of the time.
Gotta love a chow.
No.
Oh, also VMU. VMU rules. VMU is great. I love it.
Yeah, I love
wish
a VMU.
they'd been able to do more with it and really make it happen. Took too many batteries. Oops.
I'll admit I prefer the Pocket Station, though. I mean, whatever. It's a different thing.
It's a different thing. They're both good in their own way. I do wish that the VMU had been a little more Pocket Station-like in its approach, but on Power Stone, they put a little scrolling shooter in there you could take on the go. Love it.
Power Stone is chill. As you were saying earlier, it was the first time I played a video game, the Dreamcast in general, and I was just like, wow, these graphics are the best. So that's cool. However, where are we putting it? Where's it go?
Yeah, where are we putting
Above
it?
the Saturn.
I mean, it is the death of Climax, so
Yeah.
it didn't have a good Climax game. So
I guess I'd put it above the Saturn too. Looking at this list again, this is arranged differently than my list would be, of course. Yeah, I guess I can't put it above the NES just because it doesn't have too many games on it. It's got like 700, 800 games. That's not that many.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess it could be number 6.
Tim, you good with that?
Number 6. Yeah, why not? I just also want to say Phantasy Star Online, dude.
Oh, you know it.
That weird, ugly keyboard it had. Love that keyboard. Yeah, I'd put it there, Jerry.
Yeah, in my personal internal list, it's tied with 3 other systems for number 1.
Are all of those
Interesting.
3 systems on here right now, or you've had to
They
drop
are not.
another one?
There's
oh,
one
no.
more.
I know what other systems they are. It's not
Yeah.
that hard, Brandon.
No, it isn't. It's not very
We all
difficult.
know what the other consoles are.
Everybody knows what they are.
Drop some knowledge on us, Brandon.
It's my turn, man.
Yeah.
You should probably mention one of your tops.
I guess I might as well put PC Engine Duo on here right now. Why not? I'll
Gotta
just go
veto
for
it.
it now.
I'm sorry. I'm just kidding. See, that's why no vetoes.
Yeah,
Because that would be way too much fun.
it would be. I would.
That's all I would care about this whole episode.
God.
would slam my laptop closed and walk off in a huff into the sunset, never to return. Okay. I mean, what am I supposed to say about this? It's well documented. I like this platform quite a lot.
It's got the best Castlevania on it.
It's got the best Castlevania
I'm sorry, I'm
on
saying it. I'm saying it. That's my joke about how there's 2 best Castlevanias.
I agree.
And I don't know what that means either.
I think that's good, though.
Yeah.
So the PC Engine, here's what I'll say. I would say of any game platform, it has the largest gap between like the launch games and the games that came out at the end of its life cycle. The launch games were very NES-like. The games at the end were very PlayStation 1-like, but a little more limited. It's a console that evolved. It was firmly rooted in the NEC PC space, so the PC 98, PC 88. A lot of games originated there, and a lot of games were developed on it, which made it sort of a natural fit. And so you wound up getting a different crop of games than you were getting on the NES and the Genesis and the Super Nintendo, because it was coming from these PC game weirdos. And the most shooting games of any game console.
Blazing
unless we're counting
Lasers, dude.
Windows PC. Yeah, Blazing Lasers is on there.
Superstar Soldier.
It lent itself to optimization in a certain way that was, I guess, I don't know if it was unique to the time, but it was, I guess it allowed that modularity, because you would have like so many sprites on screen that a Genesis would struggle with, and a Super Nintendo would certainly struggle with. But this little 8-bit processor could just blast all this stuff out. It's pretty wild. And it's just got all kinds of weird stuff. You got East Books 1 and 2. That's not weird. It's very good.
Mm-hmm.
You got
It's got the 3rd best version of Tokimeki Memorial on it.
That's right. It's got maybe the best version of Snatcher.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly like the Sega CD version.
It's a toss-up.
I recently replayed all of them because I'm a freak.
But the
and
pilot disc is only on PC Engine, so
that's true.
That's one thing. It's got Tengai
But who has
Makio.
time for all that? Tengai Makio 2, Momotaro Dentetsu.
Mm-hmm.
It's got the best Adventure Island.
Yes.
Is Shin Adventure Island for PC Engine.
Mhm.
The best by, I'm going to say it, by a god-darn wide margin. By like an ocean-wide margin, it is the best Adventure Island game.
Mhm.
I don't care who knows it. It's Nectaris. You got Nectaris. You got
Yep.
Newtopia. I like Newtopia as well.
I think Newtopia is better than Zelda 1.
I do
So
too.
do I.
Wow.
My whole thing about the PC Engine is that Hudson, in that time, I think they were the best ripoff artists of all time in that era because they would see an established genre or a popular game, even not even an established genre. They'd see Advance Wars, they'd see Zelda, they'd see Gauntlet, and they'd be like, okay, we're going to make a different one that like you will fully understand that this is a Zelda or a Gauntlet or a whatever, but it's different enough and plays in its own way and feels so smooth that you're like, I don't care that this is like, it doesn't matter that this is just that game but different.
They were the best at all that.
They could make a rip-off game that didn't feel like a rip-off game because it was developed from the ground up just using the same concepts or the same like tent poles. I love that stuff. So yeah, Newtopia, heck. And I also think that just the CD thing, the advent of CD and the music that was on, like it's got the only port of Street Fighter 1 of note, I guess.
Fighting Street.
And
that's a cool game.
People think of the TurboGrafx and PC Engine as being a HuCard console mostly, but 60% of the games came out on CD.
That's true.
It's more a CD console than a chip console, and the stuff they got up to, I mean, Valis series is coming on a limited run right now. I love those Valis games. Nihon Telnet and Wolf Team all got their start over
Wolf
there.
Team.
Doing that nonsense.
However, Neugear was best on the Super Nintendo.
Yeah, I guess I should play Neugear. But anyway, I love the PC Engine. I love it. Sincerely.
I like to tell people that are like familiar with the NES library that this just feels like, it almost feels more like a Super Nintendo than the Super Nintendo. It just feels like a lot of the Japanese game devs who were on the Famicom sort of switched over here. So you're going to see a lot of like, NES style stuff here, but with more colors and sound. And I think it's worth looking at in the same way that I think the MSX is as well, though that one's a little harder to play.
Yeah, I think that's true in the chip era especially, and then as it goes to the CD era,
completely
it
different console at that point.
Like
yeah.
I just want to say you've got your Linda Cube, you've got your Unearth stories, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Unearth stories alone makes the PC Engine interesting.
My favorite side-scrolling shooter, Gate of Thunder.
Gate of Thunder. Yeah, I was purposely mentioning the shooters that were not Gate of Thunder, which was that was my joke about blazing lasers and Superstar Soldier for anybody in the chat anybody in the shout me out in the Twitch chat. Are we on Twitch? We're on Twitch, right?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, shout me out in the Twitch chat if you liked my joke about it, where I was just avoiding Gate of Thunder. Kaminari-mon, as we call it in Asakusa.
Put it in the comments.
Kaminari-mon. I was just talking about on Twitter how the best sound font for the chip games is in Magical Chase, which is unfortunately very expensive. I wish everyone could just play that game. But you can on emulator. You should do it. It's a cute little game that has a great sound.
I'm guessing you want to put this above the SNES.
I mean, I don't think I could get away with putting it above the Genesis even. So once again, this is tied for number one with all the rest of my faves.
Again, this ranking, it's like, I don't see how we put this above the Windows PC. Yeah, but I don't see how the Windows PC is on the list. True.
It's got Bonk's Revenge, which is cool. It also does have Rondo of Blood. You know what? On the force of Rondo alone, I'd be comfortable putting it above the Genesis.
Above the Genesis.
Ooh,
number 3.
It's number 3.
Absolutely not. No.
Yeah, Frank's severe dislike drags it down a few spots.
There's no extreme dislike. I love the PC
Wait, Frank,
engine.
have you not played?
Right.
Have you not played Tengai Makio 2?
No, I haven't. But
Victory Run, dude.
I am someone who owned the system when it was still alive. I am.
All right.
I like
Frank's
the system.
extreme disfavor compared to the other systems on this list drags it down a few spots. I think we got to put it up between the DS and NES.
You're gonna put it above the NES?
It's got to,
PC
considering
engine?
Frank and Brandon's opinions. Yeah,
Wow.
that's how this works.
Okay. I mean, as
Well,
far down as the Windows PC is, this list is completely meaningless to me at this point. So doing one.
Yeah, this list is quite inane, but I'm loving it.
Yeah, we'll have time to reorganize it by the end. Not that there's a lot that will probably be done, but we'll see. We'll be right back after a quick break.
I you like your new house?
Oh, it's great. There were 3 baby deer in my driveway this morning.
Oh, did you tell them I said what's up?
Yeah.
Okay. Good. They know me, so.
Welcome back to Insert Credit. It's time for round 5. Frank, you're up first.
All right.
I don't know if this is going to be considered contrarian or not, but I want to make this a little more interesting, and it's something that I've been thinking about a lot. Veto if you want. I don't know, but I'm gonna shoot my shot and try something interesting here.
Bondi Pippin.
No, the Analog Pocket.
Oh boy!
I mean, that's just the Windows PC as far as I'm concerned. Like you got your emulator on there.
Sure, you call it an emulator if you want, but the hardware itself. Okay, the reason that it interests me so much is that the resolution on the screen is so high res that it actually. I mean, this sounds contrarian, or not contrarian, but it sounds weird to say, but like Game Boy games haven't looked like Game Boy games since the Game Boy until this thing.
True.
As people know me, I think a lot about how about the canvas of a video game artist, and I feel like this is the first thing I've seen in a long time that attempts to right the ship in terms of how we display these old games by having video filters that actually they don't 100% replicate the Game Boy, but they favor the things that gave the system its look. I just think it's a remarkable piece of hardware. Now, does that really fit into our list as it is so far, which is mostly based on commercial software? I don't know. I guess not.
Here's where I think it doesn't work: is that there's no Analog Pocket game. Like it plays other things, but the Analog Pocket doesn't have games itself.
Okay, if that's how we want to define our list, which we didn't specifically define at the start of the show.
No, we didn't.
Fine, but I think that as a piece of video game hardware, it makes a remarkably interesting statement that I want to see more of.
I think it's interesting as game hardware, but not as a game console.
Yeah, personally, I was waiting to see which of you would bring up the Mister.
No, I wouldn't do that. That's a Windows PC.
Whoa, hold on. The Mister is better. It is better than playing games on a Windows PC.
I'm not saying it's not. Yeah, absolutely it is. Yeah, correct.
Yeah,
correct.
yeah.
Yes.
I mean, yeah.
Do I have to come up with a different one then?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know.
Just throw one out there,
Atari
Jerry.
2600. It created the video game industry.
No!
It launched independent console games with that Activision. I don't know. It defined the retail in terms of stuff to play. I really like Hero by Activision. That's probably about it. There's some other Activision stuff that's all right. I like Frostbite. Yar's Revenge by Atari by Howard Scott Warshaw I actually think is pretty cool.
Yeah, pretty cool. Pretty cool is like a really friendly way to describe it, yes.
Yeah, I would say important, kind of interesting, but not any fun.
Within the library of that system, really high up there for whatever that's worth. This is not something...
Oh, no, I'm talking about the 2600 in general. That's my assessment of it.
Oh, no, I would put Yar's Revenge in the top 10
for sure,
Atari 2600
sure.
games.
Totally.
However, I would definitely put Atari 2600 at the very bottom of this particular list.
Oh, yeah.
I actually owned one in the day. That's me calling back to Frank, mentioning that he owned a PC Engine, a TurboGrafx.
I owned one too, and an Intellivision. We should get the Amico on this list.
So I remember, I go to great lengths to explain this, the Atari 2600 in my stupid review of Pac-Man, which I don't really advise anybody to. I don't recommend anybody watch it. Don't watch my videos. Come on. There's a part where I talk about how bad the Pac-Man was. That was the first version of Pac-Man I ever played, and it just goblinized me against Pac-Man. And it wasn't until my mom accidentally rented us the NES version of Pac-Man instead of renting Thundercade, which my brother wanted to rent, that I learned Pac-Man was good. So the Atari 2600 basically made me think Pac-Man sucked. So that's why the Atari 2600 sucks. The Star Wars Empire Strikes Back game on the Atari 2600, that game is just nuts. Like it's just a horrible Defender clone. I don't know. There's just some bad games on there, and it's just not fun. And I recently played a whole bunch of Atari 2600 games on my Mister, and did not have a good time. Yep. It was just all for capture purposes. Okay, Hero's pretty good.
I think that's the one game. That's the one game on the 2600, everyone. So
I just generally did not have a a great or even good
Actually,
time.
and I don't know if this is a future show or not, but something that I've always been interested in when people talk about these systems is like, okay, what are the 10 games to play today blindly? And so for the 2600, I think that Hero is one of them, if not the only one. I think Bennett Foddy's really good for that. I don't know. Put that in our pocket somewhere.
Maybe.
Bottom of the list,
Yes.
then?
Bottom of the list. Absolutely.
Doesn't have Doom on it.
It probably does.
Can't run Doom.
It probably does. It's got Halo
I'm pretty sure. It's got Halo. Oh, yeah, it does have Halo 2600.
by Eddie Freeze.
Crike.
Tim, you're up next.
Well, I don't know. I have how many left? I have 3 more left.
You have 3 more left.
Suppose I'd better mention the one that I like. I just got to say it. Frank said 2600. It got me thinking. 2600. I'm just going to go for one that has a 360 in it. And I'm going to say Xbox 360. Xbox 360, which
nice. You win.
Yeah. Also, that's for the Sega Genesis fans in the audience.
Thanks.
Not the Pac-Man fans in the audience.
It's helpful for me to relate.
I love the Xbox 360.
Yep.
That's about it. Is there any more? Do we need any more than that? I love the Xbox 360.
We need to rank it.
I get to mention
more.
again that I just read the list of games that you all ranked as the best Xbox 360 games, and I felt a sickness. I felt so upset.
We could do it
at your
again.
ranking. It was such a list that was so brazenly ignorant of what was actually excellent about the console.
Oh, I disagree with you on that.
Almost as though you did it on purpose. I would even, I mean, come on, man.
You want to do it again this year?
Let's do it again. I liked those.
No.
I like those Xbox Live indie games, and we were going for stuff that was only on 360.
Yeah.
Even though there were a lot of games that feel like 360 games that aren't, like, I would call Nier a 360 game, even though it's clearly on. both.
Nier is a 360 game because you got Daddy Nier. Daddy Nier is a different game. It's perfectly acceptable to call that a 360 game.
That's what I said.
Yeah, that's what we went.
Yeah, so is it? Yeah, okay, well that's good. But I mean, you've got Tengai Makyo 3 on there, Brandon.
Yeah.
You've got Gears of War 2, Gears of War 3. The Gears of War trilogy is wonderful.
Yep.
I'm picking the 360 and not the easy answer of the Xbox Series X, which I guess I could just say Xbox Series X.
No, I think we're trying to not. I didn't mention this explicitly, but in my head, I'm trying to not include like backward compatibility as part of a thing.
Even though the Xbox is the best at it, and it does. I mean, the Xbox Series X sure does have,
and I appreciate that.
A lot of that stuff on there.
Well, I think we're going to say Series X is the same as Xbox One, right? Like it's the same architecture. It's not emulating a past system. That's the cutoff, I think.
Yeah, it's basically the exact same console.
Yeah, the 360 is the modern era of video game design. And I feel like...
Yeah, it feels like the last Xbox with an identity.
To me, that's where AAA games stopped evolving, not in a negative way. I feel like after PS2... it evolved one more revolution, and that was through the Xbox 360. And now I think since 360, we've basically been making the same. AAA style has not evolved much since then.
Does anybody want to hear me read my ranked list of the 20 best Xbox 360 games of all time, just really fast?
Sure.
Forza Horizon 1, Pac-Man Championship Edition, Alan Wake, which was not released on PC for 2 years after it was originally Xbox 360 exclusive. Yeah. Shadowrun, even though it was released on Windows Gaming, it was the cross-platform thing. Halo Reach, Gears of War 2, Ridge Racer 6, Ninja Gaiden 2, Lost Planet, Dead Rising, Idolmaster, Tengai Makyo Zedia, Students of Round, Enchant Arm, Ninja Blade, Concept Saga, Zegapane XOR, Zegapane NOT, which was a duology, Bullet Witch, Blue Dragon, Lost Odyssey. That is an all-timer, just home run derby of video games right there.
Yeah, there's some good
That's
stuff in
just kind of an incredible burst of video games. And that's all exclusive stuff. That's not even bringing up Fable 2, right? Nier Old Gross Man Edition.
Yeah.
I didn't even put any Idea Factory games on there, nor did I even include the Tales Studios Chopin game. Right. I
personally would have put Lost Planet 2 on there myself. But
man, yeah, LP and LP2, dude.
Yeah.
You've got Lee Byung-hun in
heck of a library,
as they call him in Japan.
Yeah,
Lost Planet 1, Lost Planet, and Lost Odyssey. Lost Planet 2. My problem with Lost Planet 2 is you lose the planet once. Fair enough. You lose the planet again.
Shame on you.
Man,
It kind of feels like negligence, Kind of feels like, where's your telescope?
I enjoy hearing that joke told in the same way, like 6 years after you coined it on this show.
Almost word for yeah, I know. That's
very
you
good.
lose the planet a third time. You got to be pulling my leg with this guy.
Where are we
Right?
ranking this thing?
360?
Students of round, dude.
360. Where does it go on the listo?
Have you ever actually played Idolmaster, Brandon? Has anybody here actually played
Yeah, I played a
Idolmaster
little
on the
bit.
360? It's pretty good, dude. I don't know. It's a little weird. It's
And
pretty good.
yeah, it's a little creepy, but
little tiny creeps.
I had the background that was exclusive to the Japan. You remember on my
Yeah,
on
I
my
remember
360,
that.
I had that Idolmaster
That
background.
Blades interface, dude. You remember that?
Certainly.
Doesn't get any better.
Yeah.
That's a joke. It got a lot better, and
Smoke
then
those
also
blades.
didn't really get that much better.
I don't know where
You
to
play
put it.
Red Dead Redemption on your Xbox Series X right now? Lord, it looks really good. It's 4K, very sharp. It's a beautiful looking game. I wish they'd bump it up to 60. LA Noire. Okay, that was also PS3. I'm just kind of listing games that were PS3.
Speaking of lists,
Yeah.
where
Man,
do we rank this game?
Nice.
I find it very difficult to rank this one because it's like either the top or the middle for me.
Oh yeah,
I would say above the PC.
that's the Xbox power.
It's like
Like all those games are on the PC.
yeah, it's
No,
that's
not the 20 ones that I
Alright.
just mentioned.
Oh, man.
Left 4 Dead.
See, I didn't even have to mention Left 4 Dead.
I
so.
feel like if we're talking about blockbuster video games, it's at the top of this list, except for the Windows PC, which is number 9, and so it's
Right.
confusing. It is confusing. So heck if I know.
Brandon, it's like Lost Odyssey is so much more of a Saturn game than anything that ever
I
came
mean, I
out
like the
on a
360.
Nintendo or a PlayStation system. The Xbox 360 has more in common with the Sega Saturn than it does with anything Nintendo.
Well,
If that makes any sense. It's
I'm
got
not sure.
concept. It's got the best concept on it.
that's true.
Come on.
It's true.
Come on, Omiasoft, dude.
So below the Dreamcast?
Wait, where's the Dreamcast
it's above
at?
7.
7.
Yeah, it's probably above the Dreamcast. I mean,
Is
it
it
might
above
be.
the NES?
It's above the DS.
It might be. I guess I could put it in number 4.
Number 4.
Mm.
How are you feeling about that?
Well, if that's the highest it can go, yeah, let's put it at number 4. Jerry.
Okay.
It's a hard one.
Brandon, finish off the round.
Oh man, we got 3 left.
You've got 3 left.
There's a couple. Oh yeah, I've got 3 left. There's a couple here that I feel like somebody else should say instead of me.
What does that mean?
Don't save anything
Um,
for me. I've been done for a while.
Dang it! Does that mean I have to? I'm gonna do the Wonder Swan.
Oh,
Ooh.
come on! I'm just kidding. It's the Wonder Swan's all right. I've recently played all the Wonder Swan games. Just to say, I've spent 10 minutes in each one. I've played each one for about 10 minutes.
I think that the Wonder Swan. It's not gonna be high on this list, but I think the Wonder Swan is great as an idea, and it's one of those things where like. If you told me about that idea at the time, I would be like, this is a great idea. And that just shows how wrong I can be about something. Because that console
It can
is...
be played vertically.
It can be played vertically and horizontally. But more importantly than that, it was like, what did it cost? $40? Something like that. And it had a battery life of something like 60 hours on one AA battery with a black and white screen that had 8 shades of gray.
Oh, crike.
Eventually it got color and that was good, and it lost some battery life. Then it got a better screen as well.
Yeah, it had kind of a Kindle thing going on, I guess, with that
Mhm.
original...
It did. And it's just, and then it's, you know, it's put out by Bandai, who owns all those anime licenses, and so they were like, okay, let's make
a bunch of bad games.
a console designed by Gunpei Yokoi, or Gunpei Yokoi's team anyway, that uses all of our anime licenses, has really high battery life, so you could play it on the train. It's really cheap to buy and manufacture. It just sounds like a good idea to me, and it can do that vertical and horizontal stuff. Some games like the Klonoa.
Extremely uncomfortable vertical controls, yeah.
I thought it was okay, but it's
I've got huge, disgusting hands, so...
yeah, mine are small and pure.
Petite.
Yeah, I just think it was a really neat idea, and I liked seeing somebody other than Nintendo or Sega come up with a cool idea and implement it and try it out. It didn't succeed. I don't think it's going to win any awards on this list,
I will say in a nice way that it's the closest anybody came to making something that seemed like an actual Nintendo handheld competitor.
Yep.
Before like the PSP.
Yeah.
You know, it's like the Sega Game Gear had all the wrong ideas.
Yeah.
The Atari Lynx, the Turbo Graphics Pocket Boy or whatever it was called.
Yeah, Turbo Express.
That's a joke. The Express. Yeah, I know what it was called. The Pocket Boy. There were, it was a console that WonderSwan really did try a bunch of stuff.
Mm-hmm. And it didn't have a lot of great games on it, but it had a very interesting port of Clock Tower.
Oh yeah, I like the Clock Tower on there.
It's got a better Arc the Lad than is on the PS2.
But not a better Arc the Lad than is on the PS1.
No, certainly not. It's got actually a pretty decent platform fighter in the Swan Coliseum games, and in the Digimon one that they got, it's got that dating sim / tactics game Macross True Love song, or Do You Remember Love? Actually, now I forget what it's called. God darn it.
I guess you don't remember Love.
An interesting game, to be sure.
It's got Riviera. It's got some real
Riviera's pretty cool.
Sting is really cool. They put some good stuff on there. It's got...
I like those Final Fantasy ports they have on there.
Final Fantasy ports are really excellent and are the basis for every port of that game for the next decade and a half.
Yeah, it's also very hilarious that they put that on there instead of any kind of a Game Boy, just to own Nintendo, I guess.
Yeah, it was pretty ridiculous. Those were good. Blue Wing Blitz, weird one on there. Squaresoft really went for it. And it's just not great, but interesting. And that's what I like. It's got Rhyme Writer Karodikon from, I think it's Masaya Matsura's second best game. Nano and Shadow's second best game.
I think this is in the bottom 4, but where in the bottom 4?
Well, I'd say I'd rather play it than the Spectrum.
Yeah, you put it over that Zed.
Yeah.
Big
Over
Zed.
The Zed.
Okay, so I've never touched a WonderSwan, but yet I have handled physically every game in the library because I packed Kelsey Lewin's collection when she moved.
Right.
That counts for something.
But I suspect that I would find more interesting ideas on the Spectrum. So I'm waffling.
You suspect that you would, but would you?
I think the trouble is, you know me better than any Spectrum enthusiast, and so I would definitely be able to show you more interesting things.
You're right. You're absolutely right. So it's above the Spectrum.
I just want to point out that you know me is the Japanese word for a traditional teacup. So it is. You know me. Every time someone in Japan would say the word, every time someone in Japan said the word "you know me," I'd be like, you know me. I love a cup of tea. And then the Japanese person would be like, what? And I'd be like, sorry.
Man, that reminds me of, I don't know if this anecdote is okay to say, we can block it out if it's not, but I loved that stupid idiot story when you were going back to your to the house of the person you were living with, and you wanted to know if she was home, and you typed Iruka, which of course means if you are you home?
Iruka.
It auto-translated to an emoji of a dolphin, and he just sent that, which is something...
I did it on purpose, yeah.
And that was very funny
to
me
before,
because
she hated it.
That was something that I had thought about doing so many times, and she hated it. Man, I love it.
And also, to correct, it was my house, and she lived there.
Sorry.
It was not her house that
I
I lived in.
didn't mean to indicate that it was one person's house or another. That was
I was the rent payer.
Yes.
Okay.
So
yes.
I think the WonderSwan is above the Spectrum is what we're saying?
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, why not?
In that case, there are 2 rounds to go. We'll be right back after one more break.
Okay, so this last part's going to probably go real quick, right?
Welcome back to Insert Credit. We are in round 6 of 7 of our console ranking episode. Frank, you are up once more.
All right. So I'm going to give everyone a little behind the scenes here. We don't normally have a second break. The reason we did is because we had to break for me to do my other show, the Video Game History Hour.
Oh no, is it going to be the Fairchild Channel F now?
And I'm going to nominate
HH.
because the Fairchild Channel F was the that was going to be my joke, because I was going to bring it up and then nominate something else. But my nomination is the Game Boy. Call it the color. Do you have to? I don't know if that helps you.
I do have
No,
to.
that's good. I like it.
Okay.
Game Boy Color, Game Boy Pocket.
Yeah, all of them. That it's a very specific hardware standard. They only really added color for the color. This is a system that I cherish quite a bit. I like the aesthetic of the original Game Boy a lot. It's something that appeals to me. But what I like most about it, I don't even want to say the games got experimental, but they got weird. Especially Nintendo's approach to its own system was to make the really oddball entries in their franchises on that system.
Super Mario Land.
Yeah, both Super Mario Land.
Super Mario Land 2, 6 golden coins.
Yeah.
Super Mario Land 3, Wario Land.
Mm-hmm. Odd games.
That second Metroid, whatever it was called.
Metroid 2 is what the second Metroid is called.
I thought that was what it was called, but I wasn't confident enough.
Well, I mean, Link's Awakening is a pretty weird Zelda.
One might say it's the best Zelda.
It is my favorite Zelda. But I mean,
my favorite as well.
Mine's Newtopia, but
Newtopia is great Zelda. It's true, as previously discussed.
If we're being 100% honest, my favorite Zelda is Landstalker and always will be.
Nice.
That's fair too. I just played through again, second, maybe third time, for the Frog the Bell Tolls. Wonderful little weird first party Nintendo game.
Sweet little game.
But I mean, I can keep listing games, right? But it's a system that kind of kept going despite itself and found a really weird, in retrospect, or even at the time, revival when Pokemon hit. Like this is a very dead system, and then Pokemon made it the most popular system, and that's kind of fun.
Yeah,
it sure is something, Jerry.
You know what I think about the Game Boy is that if it had twice the number of scales of gray and could be rotated vertically and horizontally, it would have been a lot cooler.
Yeah.
Would have been a thing.
That's what
I just have to say once again, as a person who, I've said this multiple times, but Game Boy is the absolute worst optometrical nightmare I've ever had with a video game console, to a point where I was so excited to get a Game Boy, and back then they didn't have them. There were there wasn't a demo station in any stores near my house, and when I finally saved up for and got one, big fan of Nintendo Power, I was just very depressed looking at the screen and how hard it was for me to see. I was so sad, and it was basically the only thing I could think about for several weeks was how hard it was for me to see my Game Boy screen, even in direct light. So that's my sad memory about the Game Boy. But eventually, once I strapped enough doodads to it, once I duct taped enough gizmos to it, I was able to enjoy a couple of games on there. Link's Awakening, Super Mario Land. Wonderful stuff.
I remember being really impressed with people that played action games on there. Like I had whatever the Battletoads game was on the original Game Boy.
Oh, don't get that one.
And yeah, well, it was my stepbrother's Game Boy, so I didn't get it. It's what he had, and I was trying to play a game. I was like, how do people see this?
Does your stepbrother play video games now?
He does not. So
see, there you go. That's why.
Happened.
That's why, because he had Battletoads in the original Game Boy.
They got him. I was like, how do you follow the action on this? How are you supposed to see this thing? I never found that out.
And I never found it out either, and I owned the thing forever.
Let's find out where it goes on this list.
Well, I figured out that what you do is you buy a later model.
Absolutely. That was the answer.
You know what I liked?
Get it on the
that Game Boy Light. Game Boy Light was good.
Yeah,
I had one of those. Mm-hmm. Very good Game Boy.
And I'm telling you, not to revive past conversation, but that stuff looks fantastic on the Pocket.
Ooh, so nice.
I love a good Pocket.
Nice.
The analog Pocket, not the Game Boy.
Love a good Pocket.
So
I get
it. So the question is ranking.
Yes.
Right?
This doesn't include the Advance, of course. That's
I'm not including the Advance. I think it's a separate platform.
It's definitely a separate platform for sure.
Yeah, it is. Even though it played the original Game Boy games.
It played the original Game Boy games essentially because the original Game Boy's built into it.
Yeah,
so
it doesn't count
That's
in
true.
that.
That's
like,
true.
The PS1 isn't counted in the PS2.
Exactly.
So, by the power vested in me by virtue of the fact that the original Game Boy did not include games such as Car Battler Joe, Ninja 5-0, and Castlevania Aria of Sorrow, I would say the original Game Boy is not quite up to my meticulous standard.
Mm-hmm.
That is not on the list, though. So
yeah, it's not on the list.
Where does this go on the list?
Oh, well, I'm just saying in general. It's not up to my standard at all.
Oh.
Wow.
Wow.
I mean, I'm not going to veto it. It's just to add further injury to an insult that was added to an injury. My aunt bought me the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game for the Game Boy because she knew I had a Game Boy.
Very thoughtful.
Lord, Lord, that game was awful. Just like, I mean, to a point where it was like, I would rather have a Tiger LCD than that game. Truly apocalyptically bad video game. On the other hand, Metal Gear Ghost Babel, pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, we all know where I stand because I'm not boy, so I prefer the Neo Geo Pocket Color.
Frank, where would you put it?
I would put it between the PSP and the Wonder Swan. I'd put it above the Wonder Swan. I don't think we can have the Wonder Swan above the Game Boy.
It's probably rude.
It is Gunpei Yokoi's second lap around the black and white handheld game device.
Yeah,
I think between PSP and Wonder Swan is decent with me.
I think that's fair.
Okay. Tim, you're up next.
I nominate the Jerry Seinfeld station. That's not true. So wait, we have how many more of these rounds do we have?
This is your second to last round.
Oh, quite excellent. I definitely, I didn't. This is the fun part. Is I didn't think about this at all. Thought about something else while we were not recording.
That is the fun part.
Yeah. So I'm thinking now. Let's take a look at what we've got. What the standings are.
Yeah.
We've got PS2, SNES, Genesis, Xbox 360, Nintendo DS, PC Engine, NES, Dreamcast, Saturn, Windows PC, PSP, Game Boy, Wonder Swan, ZX, Spectrum, Neo Geo Pocket Color, Atari 2600. What are some game consoles we have not brought up yet? I think the Nintendo Switch is pretty good.
Dang it.
If you want to put something above the Windows PC.
I wouldn't put the Switch above the PSP necessarily myself.
Wait, are you serious?
I'm serious.
I don't know. I think it's at least better than the PSP. Going solidly by my standard of how much of an optometric nightmare is it. The first video games, period, I have been able to play without my glasses are the Nintendo Switch. So, I mean, that's the thing for me in my life. But we need not mention it. Meanwhile, the Nintendo 3DS, I was never able to enjoy a game on the Nintendo 3DS, as I mentioned recently. So I wouldn't mention that one. The GameCube, get out of town. What was good on the GameCube? Who cares?
You could do the Switch if you want to. I don't know. Do whatever you want.
The Nintendo Wii U sucks. Nintendo 64, who cares? Right?
Yeah.
You got Ocarina of Time. Come on, Jerry. We've already got most of the ones that I like, dude.
Okay. So you're done?
I don't know.
Do you think I was excited to add the Atari 2600? Just put something on here.
Yeah. In retrospect, 21 may have been too many.
Nah. If it were my list of 21, we'd be talking about the Loopy, we'd be talking about the PCFX, just because I think the weird ones are really fun.
That is not how this list has gone, though.
It's not how this list has gone.
Certainly
I'm just saying, there's ways to.
This
We'll
is a
get to that
very
in a second.
to add
game
things.
spot list. I'm very disappointed in us.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brandon, can I defer mine until a moment from now? Can I have a moment?
Sure.
Okay.
Do you want me to do one?
You can do you've clearly got a couple. Go for it, Jerry.
Yeah, I got a couple. I mean, I don't know if I want to put the Loopy on here because I don't think it's top 21, so I'm not gonna.
Who cares about the Loopy?
It's gonna turn up into a GameSpot list in the end, but the point is the discussion more than the list itself. So anyway,
Correct.
The next two that I had in mind are ones alternately Frank and Tim have said that they would not like to have on this list.
Oh, Apple II. Great.
Yeah, it's the Apple II. No, I'm gonna put the Game Boy Advance on here. I'm gonna do a Nintendo console for the first time ever. And
it's got Car Battler Joe.
It's got Car
Ninja
Battler
5-0.
It's got Ninja 5-0.
And Aria of Sorrow.
It's got Aria of Sorrow. It has Summon Knight Swordcraft Story 1 and 2. It has it's got 3 entire Symphony of the Nights on it.
It's got that Metroid Fusion.
It's got that Metroid Fusion that I never played and don't really intend to. It's got Onimusha Tactics.
Onimusha Tactics is tight, bro.
Just a bunch of weird nonsense. It's got all these weird 3D games that exist for some reason. Just like pushed the boundaries of the hardware unnecessarily, some might say. It's got Smashing Drive. That game's not very good on there.
It's got Astro Boy, Guardian Heroes Advance, Gunstar Heroes Advance.
Yep, it has those, that's for sure. It's got Drill Dozer.
Oh, D-Doze. Yeah, I like that one.
The 2 best WarioWare games?
Yeah.
WarioWare.
It's a Wii.
It's got the best Rhythm Tengoku game on it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, maybe Rhythm Tengoku is one of the 2 best WarioWare games. Maybe I had that. Anyway.
Maybe I think it's the best WarioWare game, to be honest.
I think that's correct.
I also enjoy almost, or maybe every form factor that they came out with for it. Like, I think the original has its certain charm. I think the The flippin' SP
Flippin'.
is good. The flippin' SP. I like the goddamn the micro GBA mini micro.
You want to talk about optometric nightmares
Yeah,
right there.
I was able to see that one. I looked right at it. I played the entirety of Onimusha Tactics on that guy.
A lot of good pixel art here.
A lot of good pixel art in there.
A lot of I don't know. Like I just was thinking of games that I enjoyed on that system that I didn't think would get brought up, and I remembered that Orbital Media was kind of a neat developer. They made Racing Gears Advance, which is a really good car combat game, and Scourge Hive, which is kind of a Metroid ripoff thing, but it's pretty cool, has really good art. I don't know, that's just stuff that people like made on this system for some reason.
And there's so much to explore because it was so popular, probably because of Pokemon. People made things on it. They tried stuff. That's a theme that we've been going for. The Catwoman game on the GBA is, it's some licensed nonsense.
Oh, that game's bonkers. Game's bonkers, dude.
But the movement and jumping around in that game and the way that you can actually see what's going on as you're jumping across isometric rooftops is pretty legitimately impressive to me. Like, divorced from the animation or whatever, the movement of the character and being able to move through the space is pretty delightful for something that is, trying to grapple with 3D in 2D space. And you wouldn't expect the Catwoman Game Boy Advance game to have something like that. And there's a pretty good Azumanga Daioh game on there. It's a very strange card matching game that I enjoy. Anyway, pretty good.
While it has Onimusha Tactics, it does not have Wild Arms XF.
That's true.
So that's kind of a point against it, to be perfectly honest.
I actually prefer Onimusha Tactics to Wild Arms XF.
I'm just kidding. They're both good games. Let's deal with it. They're both good games.
And I like it. I half joked about this earlier, and it's something that I did in our offline episode. So probably didn't hear this, but something I don't like about the Game Boy Advance is...
No, I heard it.
Oh, you did listen to this? Okay.
Yeah, I listened to it.
I'll repeat it briefly, which is that this is a system where it's like really low cost dev, meaning low budget games, meaning... And we're in like the internet era where we're on like Windows computers. So a lot of these games are just like really ugly drop-in assets, like scanned photos and things like that. And
there's bad stuff.
On average, Game Boy Advance games are pretty hideous if you're like me and you channel surf on an EverDrive sort of thing. But great games on there otherwise. And
the highs are very high.
Highs are very high, and it's it's probably better than something like the Wii in terms of like average game.
I'd say.
That Mario Kart Advance is pretty hideous.
Oh yeah. Some of the big games are hideous. Yeah, Mario Kart Advance I think is a really gross looking game. Yeah.
Where do we put it?
Heck, I didn't think that far ahead. I'd put it above the Game Boy
and below the PSP.
And below the PSP.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'm good with that.
I would like to make one addition. Can we make it the Game Boy Advance SP?
I don't. Why?
It's just a family of systems.
Yeah, it's just all.
Come on.
I think the regular Game Boy Advance, for my dollar, the regular Game Boy Advance has the best form factor, build quality. The buttons are nice. I like that Regu.
If we were going to get real specific, I would have said the Wonder Swan Crystal, but I don't think it's necessary.
That's fine.
Swan Crystal's legit, dude.
Back to you, Tim.
Back to me. I still, I didn't really have too much of a think about it. No, I have like one console left.
Do your big
I called
boy.
up what big boy? The big boy. I would like to save it for my last contribution.
Okay. I mean, I still have to go again after you, so like...
You gotta go.
I'm just gonna name a couple more consoles. I'm not gonna name because this is gonna help. Not gonna name the PlayStation 4.
Okay.
Who cares?
Yeah. Who cares? Is
not
right.
gonna name the PlayStation 5. Who cares?
No.
There's like 2 games on there. Half a game.
Maybe 6.
Really. Nintendo Wii. What's the Nintendo Wii got? I don't know. Mario Galaxy.
It's got one Sandlot game that isn't on any other platform.
Oh yeah, Regan Lave.
Yep.
Yeah, I played the heck out of that game. I don't even know how you're supposed to pronounce that god darn name. Not going to PlayStation Vita. Who cares?
Yeah.
Neo Geo CD.
I kind of care about those. And as you heard, I almost put them on there because I love those. But it is just, except for the Neo Geo CD. The Neo Geo is
CD kind of blows.
It's just a home version of the arcade stuff, but Neo CD has a couple of original things on it. But the loading time is like, it's like go make yourself an entire sandwich and come back, and then 5 minutes later maybe you can play a game.
What about the 3DO?
More like the 3D blows.
Right.
I think the 3DO was a really interesting concept in that it was a hardware standard that other manufacturers could make. And,
Interesting concept. Shame about the whole thing, though.
and again, that's the Windows computer. So
Yeah, fair enough.
We could just put the Saturn on here a second time if you want.
Double Saturn.
Sega Saturn 2.
That's right.
I don't know. How about the
Shoot.
the TI-89 calculator? Think play Drug Wars.
Tim, you want me to suggest some for you?
I mean, it's clear at this point to the listener. It is clear what my number one is.
Yeah, it's
obviously.
Right. You said don't put the Game Gear on there, and I knew that you were baiting me to put the Game Gear on there, but you could put the Game Gear on there.
I hate to say this, the Game Gear is pretty bad.
I think the Game Gear is pretty good because you also sort of get the Master System for free.
I mean, I think you might as well put the Nintendo Switch on there. I'm going to do it. I'll say Nintendo. We got all these Nintendo handhelds. The Nintendo Switch is good. It had that Zelda. It had that Mario. They released a Zelda and a Mario in the same calendar year. I mean, that's not a bad deal, right? Like, they ended up making just bonkers of money.
Yeah.
Like, it's got all of your, like, so many independent developers were able to release their games on that store.
I got, 4 or 5 games on there that I worked on.
And just, like, you've got Stardew Valley. You've got Story of Seasons. You've got that's not an indie game, though. That's just a somewhat related to Stardew. You got Hollow Knight was able to become popular on the Nintendo Switch. You've got game after game after game just released on this thing. The tantalizing prospect of being able to play it on the bus, on the toilet, on the train, Octopath Traveler, Bravely Default 2, Dragon Quest XI S, Echoes of an Elusive Age, Xenoblade Chronicles 2, Xenoblade Chronicles 2, Torna the Golden Country, Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. Like, those are all exclusives, right?
Also, it's pretty much the only place you can play Shin Megami Tensei 5 right now.
Shin Megami Tensei 5, the Mega 10.
Yep.
Like, there's a lot of stuff that's locked on that Nintendo Switch. And I've previously toyed with the idea that it's just the best game console of all time. I don't really believe that. It's just a fun thing to say. It's meticulous. It's miraculous. Again, I can see it without my glasses, which has got to stand for something of all the game consoles. On the other hand, my beautiful yellow Joy-Cons that I've loved since I got them, one of them has started to drift, so I had to throw it in the old trash. By which I mean I put it in the bucket of controllers that don't work.
I feel like the real thing that holds the Switch back for me is it's irresponsible, in my opinion, to release a console with a controller that doesn't work and still doesn't work, and you're still producing it not working.
It's made of parts just sourced on the Chinese gray market in 2008.
I've replaced the Joy-Con bit in my controller set twice, and it has returned to drifting after 2 months every time.
Yeah, that's absolutely bonkers.
It's just not cool. And I know you can buy a Pro controller. We had a whole discussion about it before the show, but
yeah,
it's you shouldn't have to. You know what I mean? I agree that it's a good console. I play games on it. Whatever. It's just if you only had the Switch and you didn't have a Pro controller, you would not want to buy action games on it. And I find myself not playing action games on that platform because of it.
But as a Wonder Swan fan, don't you love the fact that the D-pad is 4 separate buttons?
Yes.
Bingo!
Nice.
You can play Sonic Mania with that, dude.
I did.
You don't need no Joy-Cons. Well, actually, maybe it'll drift and ruin your playing.
It did that.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, it sucks. It sucks because the drift can just take over whatever you're doing.
Anyway, I just gotta say, it's weird to play the Xenoblade Chronicles on that thing, sitting in a hospital, and you're just playing a big old console. First of all, that Xenoblade Chronicles is more AAA of an RPG than anything any other RPG series is doing. I mean, I don't necessarily think the story's all that great or coherent, though. It's just got these huge environments. It's just ridiculous how big and detailed and layered all these environments are.
It's a little too much if you ask me.
Unlock the camera and zoom out and position the camera wherever you want. It's all like you're editing the scene. Zelda's on there. I don't know, man.
So factoring in that library and its inherent convenience, but also its hardware failings, where do we rank it on the list?
I just want to quickly ask, do y'all's switches sound normal, or does the fan sound like it's simultaneously airplane taking off and sputtering its last breath? Is that just mine?
I don't really get too many airplane sounds on mine.
I think I just got a real bad batch.
You might have a bum
switch.
switch.
I'm not saying this is some bragger. I literally haven't touched mine in years, so I don't know.
Years.
Owned.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't even own a TV. Where are we ranking this?
Nice, dude. Oh, you're the coolest.
Nice.
I think it has less character than a lot of what's on this list.
That's true.
I think it's just
That's true,
it's
Jerry.
a portable, crappy computer that has some.
It's better than the Atari 2600.
That's true.
That's true. I think it's better than the Wonder Swan. I'm waffling on the Game Boys.
I would put it below the Wonder Swan, but if
I'm
it
great
must
with that.
go above,
Sure,
it can.
Sure.
Okay.
Although there is something hilarious about putting the ZX Spectrum above the Switch.
That's true.
I'm going to point that out.
I don't think the ZX Spectrum had its day, and it failed to impress.
All right, I think we're putting it below the Wonder Swan, but above the ZX.
There we
Only
go.
because the ZX Spectrum it smells like cigarettes. Like whenever
That's
I think
true.
about it, I smell
It's
cigarettes.
time for our final round.
Oh, God,
Heck,
it's
heck,
the
heck.
ZX.
Oh my God.
Okay.
Frank, you got to pick one more. Let's eke one more console out of you.
There is only one console that has not been mentioned yet, and that's the Intellivision Amico.
Right, thank you.
That's right.
Amigo.
It's amigo.
Seriously, I don't know. Like, I'm just kind of out of stuff. Like, so something that should be known about my brain is that I think anything from 360 forward, that's a computer to me. That's just a
Yeah.
more limited computer. So, like,
I
I have
get
a
it.
hard time differentiating any of the systems in my head. But I don't. There's nothing interesting about the GameCube to talk about.
Mario Sunshine, dude.
Switch was
Yeah.
going to be
That's
my next one, but Tim Dunn took it.
LMAO.
Yeah, I heard you say dang it.
LMAO, dude, you got owned.
I am tempted to just throw the Wii out to see what happens. I think that's about the best I could do. So
I mean, it's interesting.
it's
We're
interesting.
just really Nintendifying this. Let's do it.
Well, yeah, Nintendo makes distinct consoles. That's
Right.
it. I mean, I don't know the difference between a PS3 and 4. I really don't. Or 5, I guess. They're just
easier to stream from a PS4.
That's true, actually.
Well, actually, you just need to plug your PS3 into like virtually any HDMI hub. Little tip for everybody. PS5 is exactly a PS4 with better specs and a slightly different UI.
And a Dracula cowl.
Yeah, and I understand that the parts are different between 3 and 4, etc. But again, they're just all just seem like crappy computers.
When you're saying that they're all computers these days, I'm going to tell you what, Frank. We've been more lipstick than pig for a long time now here in the video game industry. The pig has been replaced by lipstick at this point many times over.
Yeah, it's true.
The PS5 is a pig with so much lipstick. The lipstick stores are considering legal action.
It's lipstick with some ham in it.
A ham a la lipstick. Oh no. Okay, so the Nintendo Wii.
The Wii. So the Wii has some interesting
had
stuff.
Final Fantasy IV: The After Years on it.
All right,
Yeah,
sure.
that's true.
That's a thing.
That's my joke
It's
about
got
the Wii.
Castlevania Adventure Rebirth.
Yeah, so it has,
Adventure
so
Rebirth.
okay, so hang on, let's backtrack. So let me talk. This is my nomination.
That's
Go
right.
for it, Jerry.
So I mean, you mentioned Mario Galaxy. I think fantastic game.
Mario.
The second one probably really good. I've heard. I don't know.
It's
I
much
should get
better.
To it. It had some interesting, unique stuff that I don't know that I would ever go back to. I'm thinking back to
Virtual
stuff I
console,
played.
dude.
Well, I mean, I'm thinking about like, it was the system that allowed stuff like No More Heroes, which I probably wouldn't like now, but at least at the time I was like, this is an interesting thing. Or like Mad World. I don't think I'd ever play Mad World again for the rest of my life, but for some reason that was a Wii game. Little King Story was interesting.
LKS.
Yep.
There was this virtual store, right? Like for digital games. I don't, and some interesting stuff happened. I mean, yes, virtual console, fine, but we're not talking about emulation, right? So are we talking, does
course,
official
of course.
emulation count? I think it does. So that's out. But to, I think Brandon's point, it had some interesting, weird WiiWare stuff from real companies like Castlevania Rebirth. I think there's a lot to say about this thing. I actually think that it's kind of neat that it is basically a GameCube again with a couple extra parts on it. I think there's something kind of cool about that.
Yeah, it is very neat.
I think there's a really good particular niche library of excellent insert credity stuff that you can make, and I believe I've mostly made it. Which you got Opuna, you got Fragile Dreams, you got Pandora's Tower, you got Regan Lave, you got
love Regan Lave,
Bug Island, god darn weird survival nonsense from Spike.
I played the heck out of Pandora's Tower, Regan Lave, Xenoblade, and Last Story. I really liked that particular final weird desperate let's try to make a hot JRPG.
There's Lost Shadow, I think, the Hudson weird thing, one of their last hurrahs before they got absorbed. Elabits, it's not that great, but it's like, I don't know. Everyone was trying something. They were like, what can we do?
There were a lot of that marble game? There was like a marble tilting game that we saw at an event that we both thought was kind of neat.
Let's Tap, dude.
Yeah, Let's Tap is on there.
The game where you put a Wiimote on a provided cardboard box.
So good.
That's some ridiculousness.
I mean, the game isn't very good, but it's good that they did it.
Let's tap the Wii for our list.
So I want to add something cool to it, which is that I think of all of the home systems from like that time forward, or even just starting from 360, like that era forward. I think this is the easiest one to quote unquote mod and just put all the games on a hard drive.
Yeah, that's true.
It's like super easy to just have a USB drive in the USB slot in the back of the Switch and just put a giant library on there. And all of them just work. It's not like, GameCube or PS2 or whatever, where it gets kind of finicky. It's just, it almost feels like it was made to be played off the hard drive.
Wii.
All right.
So
is it
where
better
are we
than the
putting it?
Switch?
No.
Yeah, it's a good question.
The Wii. Let's also not forget that Wii Sports, revolutionary. And the first time you have to
Grandma
waggle
played
the controller to swing your sword in The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess, meticulous.
Blows your mind.
It was beautiful. Like the fact that Link was doing exactly what my hand did, slashing a sword in a huge wide arc and yelling, yeah. Dragon Quest Swords was on there, dude.
It was.
The weirdest Dragon Quest game by far. That would be on a list. Meticulous.
So where do we put it?
Below
Wii
the
Sports
Switch?
Resort with the Wii Motion Plus, dude.
I might even put it above the Wonder Swan for the quality it's got.
For Dragon Quest Swords alone, yeah, good idea.
I mean, I like the Wonder Swan a lot, obviously, but I'm just trying to be reasonable.
What are the rest of you
I
thinking?
mean, the question is, what is Wonder Swan supposed to mean as a name? Is what you're wondering, right?
Yeah, I'm Wonder Swanning.
So you said above the Wonder Swan?
I did. I was being generous to
You
everybody.
done said it. Now you got to pay the price.
Man,
You got to pay the price, Jerry.
this list is so meaningless.
Frank, where do you want to
Okay.
put it?
Yeah, I agree.
It's quite
I
wonderful.
agree. Above the Wonder
Okay,
Swan.
Tim, what do you think?
Put it above the Swan.
Okay.
I say bury the Swan. We are in charge now.
Tim, it's time for your last pick.
Oh, my last pick. Well, this is my choice for the number one best video game console of all time. I've been sitting here for the last couple minutes with my phone in my hand, just typing the names of games for this console that I consider all-time greats.
Yeah.
And I've come up with the Wild Arms 2, Lagnacure Legend, Final Fantasy 7, 8, 9, Tactics, Grand Stream Saga, Brightest, Blaster Master Blasting Again, Team Buddies, Jackie Chan Stuntmaster, Aonuma no Tsubasa, Vel de Selba, Senki, Ghost in the Shell, Xena Warrior Princess, Jumping Flash 2, Chippoke Rarufu no Daiboken, Kaisoku Tenshi, Linda Cube again, LSD Dream Emulator, Tale of the Sun, My Wild Pure Simple Life, Aquanauts Holiday 2, Kaze no Notamu, Boku no Natsuyasumi, Moon, the second best version of Tokimeki Memorial, Dragon Warrior 7, Persona 2. It's the PlayStation 1, man. The PlayStation 1's the best video game console ever. I say after having sat here for like a year, playing like 1 or 2 PlayStation 1 games every day. I didn't even list any of the weird ones that I discovered.
Yeah, I was going to say
that I'd never even heard of before.
Plenty of nonsense you could put on there, like Xanax. That's not that nonsense, but there's that something or other gear that I forget the name of, which is like a...
Oh, that's Metal Gear.
Oh, Metal Gear.
Guilty Gear.
It's a
Metal
2D
Gear?
action platformer with 3D fighting game bosses. Pretty cool. I forget what it's called. God darn it. Sorry.
Elemental Gearbolt.
Alundra.
Alundra 2, which is terrible. The Septentrion for PS1. Papalacroix 2. Papalog. London Seire Tantedon. I could just list games all day over here. Ape Escape, also known as Ape Escape. Gran Turismo 2. Vagrant Story. Vandal Hearts.
Alice in Cyberland, which I just about beat it, and then something happened. I like that game.
I really like that game.
It's weird.
There's just so much on the PlayStation 1 that I may or may not be going into an extreme amount of detail about elsewhere than here. Good luck! At some point in the near future. So,
well,
who knows?
I will say that in my personal list of where I've got 4 ranked at the top for number 1, for me, PlayStation 1 is number 2. And
excellent.
The revelation that I had recently is that I think I like the PlayStation 1 more than the PlayStation 2, and PlayStation 2 is now number 3 on my list.
Huh.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I mean, I like the PlayStation 1 more than the PlayStation 2 as well. I just think it is a video game. Suikoden 2? Come on.
How do you feel about the PS1, Frank?
I missed that era, so I don't have, like, as it happened feelings. But when I did look back on it, I bought a PSIO, which is the earlier sort of SD card loader, and installed it on a PlayStation I got for $7 at a thrift store when one could still do that. And my feeling exploring that library was that I hadn't realized that a lot of those games were they just felt like really pumped up Super Nintendo games. Like it feels like the next Super Nintendo.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. The early days were for sure.
In the same way that, like, the Turbo Graphics was the next NES.
Yeah, kind of. But and I don't mean like the 2D stuff. I even mean the 3D stuff. Like they still feel like Super Nintendo games to me. Like it still has that sort of that feeling to it.
Legend of Legaia perfectly has the texture of like a bad SNES JRPG, and I love it.
And good and bad when I say Super Nintendo.
Yeah,
so I thought that was kind of interesting. Played through Symphony of the Night, played through Metal Gear Solid, whatever. Those are classic games, are great. But
yeah, those are good games.
Was probably one of the first times that like very Japanese games got popular here, I think. So there's something to be said about that. It's really high up on my list of like I should sit down with this systems. Like it's that and like the MSX and maybe the Amiga are like my 3 like retirement systems, you know.
We like it for number 1?
Number 1? No, I don't.
I've got it.
Oh.
I think the PS2 is cooler than the PS1 myself.
I would rearrange the list entirely, of course, as would we all. But it is that situation again where none of my number 1s are number 1.
Yeah.
And my number 2 is what we're voting on right now. So that makes it difficult.
That's politics.
Yeah, it is.
But I would put it above the Super Nintendo, that is for sure.
Oh yeah.
And I do like it better than the PS1 myself.
Or PS2? Yeah, I mean, so do
PS2,
I.
sorry.
But if
I'm not gonna fight it. I think
if
it
2
seems
out of
like
3
Brandon
put it
is
there.
Brandon's the deciding vote here. It feels like.
I'm gonna tell you what, I played so many PS2 games last year, and I played so many PS1 games as well. And I don't want to go into too much detail about this because, again, I plan to do so quite extensively somewhere else soon. Good luck! What divides the PS2 and the PS1 for me is the PS2 has a lot of games that feel like bad Xbox 360 games. The PS2 has a lot of games that feel like Xbox 360 games that did not figure out right analog stick camera movement yet.
I think that's kind of what I was getting at earlier, where like the PS2 has the visual fidelity and the feeling of it. It feels like it should have gotten further and smoother, whereas the PS1 feels like indeed smoothing out the stuff of the last generation. Of course, there was also a lot of nonsense on there, but like Frank, you said, the next evolution of the Super Nintendo in terms of like game design and thought pattern about video games. It, for me, playing a PlayStation 1 game is much more of an easy let's sit down and have fun with a game than a PS2 game is.
I agree with
PS2
that.
game requires me to recalibrate my brain too much because it's like you get a game that does have dual analog stick movement on the PS2, right? That has a right analog stick camera controls, and it's like the right and left is reversed, and the up and down is reversed, and it's like nothing moves the way you want it to. There's no options to change it. And if you're playing on the original hardware, it's just, you just got to commit to having sort of a bad time. Like, there's little things. I mean, that's a really nitpicky example, though. On the PS1, you launch something like Mega Man Legends or Mega Man Legends 2 or Misadventures of Tron Bond, games that are not the next level of a Super Nintendo game. They actually seem to be doing something interesting with 3D space and just the whole idea of being on a CD-ROM. It was just loaded up with horrible voice acting. You play games like that, I don't know. You're just pressing the shoulder buttons, and yeah, I feel like I'm having a good time. The shoulder buttons to rotate the camera. That's what I miss.
All right.
I miss the games where you use the shoulder buttons to rotate the camera.
I think we got to put it at number 1 right now.
Great.
What it's looking like.
Okay. Brandon, you have one more game.
This could knock it down.
It's probably
console. What is it?
Probably gonna. So,
Commodore 64?
I've been avoiding talking about this one, and it's funny that in all the mentions of, like, what should I put up? This ridiculous console? Nobody even brought this up.
The Jaguar.
So it's the Jaguar.
Well, we were talking about real consoles when we were...
The Jaguar wasn't... I never saw it in a store.
I did, but I saw it stacked real high, and it was $50.
The Jaguar, let's be straight, is bad. The Jaguar sucks, but I love it.
Trevor McFur, though, dude.
I think it's remarkable for just how boneheaded it was to like pretend it was a 64-bit, even when the Nintendo 64 was out. To pretend that the Jaguar was like, let's do the math.
Oh yeah, do the math.
And Atari was such a mess. Like their arcade and home console divisions had split, so you didn't even get like ports of Atari's still thriving arcade business on the Jaguar. Sometimes they had some deals where maybe they were going to do it. You got Primal Rage. That's about it. It's wild.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't get any big hits that were actually still coming out. And the Jaguar could barely run them. But you got the version of Doom that id made by themselves, upon which all future ports of Doom were made for the next 10 years. You got my favorite Highlander CD game, which is a bizarre piece of crap that I love, that has 3-second ambient loops as music.
I like looking at it. I would never play it.
For sure. You got the CD add-on that makes it look like a goddamn toilet bowl.
Yeah, I love it. If Twitter had existed back then,
they would have been
slam
wrecked.
dunking that.
It's got that controller that's like 5 miles wide and has 800 buttons.
You can call your grandpa with it. Hello?
It was like, it was a really great idea. The inserts from the Intellivision that go over the number pad. Let's do that. So they brought that back. But it's also had a thriving homebrew community because Atari fans have brain poison. And there are some decent, kind of fun games on there. I think Alien vs. Predator is good.
Yeah, it's a decent one.
I like it. Those fighting games are all terrible, but I kind of like them anyway. There's Super Burnout, which is actually quite a good super scalar bike game, which is really fun to play and has good music and has a good ambiance and like real-time lighting changes. It's not lighting changes, it's just an animated background that changes from light to dark, but it's cool. You got Power Drive Rally, a really delightful top-down racing rally game. Very cute little chubby little cars. You can turn on your headlights and go beep beep. And then it's got some stuff that looks real weird, like Club Drive, which is just flat shaded, drive a car through a home, but your car is like 2 inches tall and everything else is huge. It's a huge mess of a system. Oh man, if they had put out that Black Ice White Noise, it would have changed everything.
That's it. That was the one. That was the first, like Grand Theft Auto 3 wouldn't have happened.
Nope, it would have been just that. Would have been
PlayStation had Motor Tune Grand Prix, and it also had Grand Theft Auto 1.
I guess I'll put it lower than PlayStation on the list then.
You got Cybermorph on there, right?
I was thinking above ZX Spectrum.
No, I think it should just be
They're
above
the same system to me.
It should be above the 2600 and that's it.
Oi, gov. Yeah, I think it would be wonderful to declare the Jaguar a better console than the 2600.
Yeah, and that's the only declaration that's made.
I'll admit I've opened up best game consoles of all time on Google, and I'm looking at lists on like IGN or whatever. Our list is definitely better. than
good.
like an IGN list.
It just looks like there's a British guy on staff at GameSpot, is what it looks like.
Oi, Gov.
Here's what's going to happen. All three of you are going to revise this list privately, and we're going to show how each of you would have rearranged the list on patreon.com/insert credit as an exclusive feature for our patrons.
Not posting our real lists, but revising this list.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying.
Okay. I'm just going to say every list I looked at ranked the 2600 higher than the Jaguar, so we're at least not mainstream with regard to that.
So what I want you all to do is call out each of the numbers at once, and I will read the name of the console.
Where do we want to start?
We start with 21. Everybody
21.
say 21.
Ready?
Okay.
21.
21.
21.
The Atari 2600.
20.
20.
The Atari Jaguar.
19.
19.
The Neo Geo Pocket Color.
18.
18.
The ZX Spectrum.
17.
17.
The Nintendo Switch.
16.
16.
The Wonder Swan.
15.
15.
The Nintendo Wii.
14.
The Game Boy.
13.
13.
The Game Boy Advance.
12.
12.
The Sony PlayStation Portable.
11.
The Windows Personal Computer.
10.
10.
Saturn, the best.
The Sega Saturn.
9.
9.
The Sega Dreamcast.
NES.
8.
The Nintendo Entertainment System. No, Brandon.
Sorry. I was
7.
reading things. 7.
The Personal Computer Engine.
Nice.
6.
6.
The Nintendo Dual Screen.
Five.
5.
The Xbox 360.
4. The number of death,
4.
and thus the coolest number.
The Sega Genesis.
3.
The Super Nintendo Entertainment System.
2.
2.
The Sony PlayStation 2.
And coming in at number 1.
1.
Number 1 with a bullet. The Sony PlayStation. And that was our console episode.
First of all, the PlayStation did have Tecmo's Deception on it, so that should appeal to. I mean, now that we think about it, it is a good choice. Right?
Frank, I want to just say another thing about the Windows PC thing.
Mm-hmm.
The reason I don't think it belongs on the list, though I didn't want to veto it, is like it's as if we were discussing what are the best streaming services, and we were ranking those, and then you were like torrents.
People don't make software exclusively for torrents. Like there are many exclusive Windows games. And most of the games that people love on the Switch originally were on the PC and run way better there.
Oh, you're telling me. Yeah, dude, right?
Well, that's why the Switch is lower. But it's I don't know, it's like it feels against the spirit of console.
But there are many games that run on this thing. Only on this thing.
True.
Many.
Well, what if we just say Windows PC is just
it's a tough
PCs in general, all computers that also do other stuff.
Well, does that include the Commodore 64?
It doesn't include the Spectrum because it's also on the list.
I'm saying it's a very specific standard, the Windows PC.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the Windows PC is legit. And I honestly think that someone can go down to Micro Center or whatever and build themselves a Windows PC for gaming and have something slightly more capable than like a PlayStation 5.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously the graphics cards are hard to get.
Okay, maybe here's my other problem with it. We don't want to put the Series X because that encapsulates all of Xbox and it's not really fair.
No, I think the Series X is Xbox One. We established that during the show.
Yeah.
But the 360, you can also play 360 games, most of them on there. I don't know. But I feel like for Windows
Can't play
PC, like
Saga on there.
You can play Windows
Bullet
95 and Windows 98 and Windows 3X games on Windows PC, but they're like emulated and things. Or DOS games. It feels like there should be some breakdown, and it shouldn't just get to be the entirety of Windows.
I didn't say DOS. I said Windows, like DirectX, basically.
Yeah, Windows isn't DOS,
okay.
Jerry.
All
Windows ain't no DOS, mate. What if we just said Steam? I don't know.
Sure.
Yeah, if it were the Steam Deck, I would have felt more comfortable.
You could just say Steam, and then Steam Deck is a little PC you can plug in, and then you can kind of just say, I don't actually know anyone who fits this description, though I'm sure this person exists. A guy who went down to the computer store and asked them to build him a PC just so he could play The Witcher. and then he ended up buying a bunch of other stuff on Steam. There's got to be a guy like that, right?
Sure. Yeah.
There's got to be. I mean, I don't personally know anyone like that, though. There's got to be a guy who has a computer at work and doesn't need a computer at home. Maybe he's got a Chromebook, but he built a PC so he could play PC games on it.
I mean, that's close to me. Like my PC at home.
That is close, right?
I will occasionally just like noodle around on the internet or whatever, but we built a PC to play games on our TV, and it sits below the TV. We don't use it for anything else other than, like I said, I happen to be on a computer. I might as well use this browser here instead of my phone. Like that's the only other function of it.
There's like effectively no philosophical difference between it and a game console.
None. It is a game. We bought this as a game console to play games. Yes.
So in other words, we come to yet another moment where we must say, Brandon, if it was you, you would know. Okay? If it was you, you would know. If you had a hot PC, you'd know. You would be using it for work, and then when the night had fallen and your weed was ready to be smoked and your business was done and you turned on a video game, you'd go, this is not the computer I was using hours ago. This is something else. This is a game console, is what you would say to yourself.
Maybe I'll find out someday if a PC can be a game console. Right now, it is philosophically different to me, but
and I'm sure that'll be reflected on your list as it appears on patreon.com/insert credit.
It'll still be above the 2600.
Oh, kablamo.
You can.
So I just want to say, can I do a recommendation here at the end of the show?
This whole show is recommendations, but okay.
No, it's not. This whole show's not a recommendation. I mean, PlayStation 1 as a recommendation, what does that mean? You can't play it on any of the modern consoles. What if I told you there are people out there on the internet that you can email and talk to who can set you up with, for example, a PlayStation that has an X station that allows you to load games on an SD card, and a PS1 digital that allows you to output your video games at 1080p, right? What if I told you there's people like that? Well, I have recently, this is not a paid promotion, I have recently had a bunch of work done. I'm not talking about at the dentist. I have had a PlayStation 1, Sega Saturn, a PlayStation 2, and a Dreamcast, all lovingly refurbished and outfitted with the most excellent technology that the modern world affords by a person by the name of Crystal Lee, who runs a company called Sound Retro Co. You go to soundretro.co. She will do excellent work. Nintendo 64 as well. I had a Nintendo 64 and 64 digital done up. So I have a goddarn 1080p Nintendo 64.
You made the dog bark saying Nintendo 64.
The dog loves the Nintendo 64. I have all of the good Nintendo 64 games on my flash cartridge.
Nintendo 64, the console for
That's
dogs.
Hybrid Heaven and Sin and Punishment. I also own a Mister, which if you go to MrAddons.com, you can purchase a pre-configured Mister. I bought one of those last year, and I feel like it's one of the most fantastic purchases of my life. It is not emulation, it is replication. Just so perfectly recreates the video games. That it blows my mind. And they've got PlayStation on there now. Did you see this, Frank?
Oh, yeah.
They got PlayStation on there now.
It's not done.
And it doesn't have audio 100% yet, but it's getting there. I tested it out myself just the other day. It's a wonderful thing. Can you play Jaguar games on there? I haven't checked, but I think you can.
I don't think you can.
I don't think so.
I don't think there's a Jaguar emulator at all. That's another reason to put it on this dumb list.
It exists, but...
There's an emulator.
They don't really work very well, right?
I don't know if anyone knows.
Yeah.
Yeah, nobody really cares. No, I did play Doom on Jaguar on a Jaguar emulator, and it was
nice.
So it was pretty good to play that. I mean, I played Ninja 5.0 on my TV. I'll tell you what, Optometric Nightmare in the hands, 77 inches in the. I don't know what to rhyme that with. Though having that on my PC, or not on my PC, on my giant TV. Quite exciting and exquisite. MrAddons.com if you want to get a Mister. It's just an incredible thing to own. Do you have one, Frank?
I have for several years. I have not.
Oh yeah, I know
touched
you do.
The software in a long time. It's a little daunting to set up the software.
Oh yeah. It's a little bit of I deal with Adobe Premiere about 16 hours a day, so I kind of love working on the Mister. You know, getting to sliding on a skateboard underneath it. Which is a joke about how it's very, very small.
I just bought another one for the office, so I'm going to have to dive in.
Yeah. Well, if you update one, you might as well.
Exactly.
You'll be fresh off the updating. Update the other.
Well, and the other thing too is if you're like me and you got a CRT still around, it just spits straight out to that as well.
Put it on that. Put it on your HDMI. Yep. Put it on whatever you want. Put it out to multiple things at the same time.
I want to back up the suggestion of soundretro.co because Krista Lee is a friend of mine. She's actually in our Discord as well, the Video Game History Foundation Discord. She's often posting about her hardware mod work, not in an advertising way. She's just sort of like knowledge sharing and showing her processes as she goes. And she is awesome and has a lot of attention to detail. And she's definitely where I will go next time I need something like that.
Yeah, she's good. My only downside is East Coast. So expensive shipping
is
for
in Seattle.
No,
she's in Seattle.
Up in Seattle.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, looks like I'm an
so
idiot.
I mean, I'm doing business cross country. I mean, I'm in this position where I kind of need to have a lot of video games available for me to play at any given second, right? I might need to play a PlayStation 2 game real quick or what have you. And I was like, I got to get the highest quality stuff, you know? I want to play it on the real hardware and I want it to look good and I want it to perform well. Just such a paraphernalious thing to get all this stuff hooked up and get all the parts purchased and all of that. So dealing with Krista Lee, who just handles it all for me, is quite wonderful.
Yeah, it's nice.
Excellent process. I should get a Nintendo Wii as well. Do they mod up Nintendo Wii's?
There is
HDMI mod for a Wii?
I believe there is now. Yeah, no, it's a modification of the GameCube Wii mod, is my understanding.
Oh, neat.
That makes sense.
I don't believe anyone's done it for PS2 yet, which is kind of remarkable.
There's a PS2 digital supposedly coming out this year.
Well, and I hope that someone redoes the optical drive emulation, so because we're just still using the old piracy methods that don't work with every game. So.
Yeah, I've got the PS2, but I'm on standby for when they've got some sort of a, I mean, I'll be upgrading as I go along. Brandon, I'll have you know that I've got I have a This Is Cool Saturn. Do you know the This Is Cool Saturn?
Of course I do. It's the gray skeleton one that came with the Derby 2000 or whatever it was. Winning Derby.
That's my Saturn, baby. That's my Saturn.
That's a good one.
I'm going to add on. I'm going to modify.
My personal favorite Saturn.
Modify Tim's recommendations here. I recommend most of that if you're into that. For Wii and GameCube, I think there is no reason not to use Dolphin at this point.
Dolphin is absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, Dolphin is just. I mean, it is. It just runs laps around any other emulator at this point. Like it's basically perfect. And if you want to play a GameCube or a Wii game, it'll just give you the 4K if you want it. It'll just like run in 60K if you want it. It just makes the Wii and GameCube basically a PC game, and it's wonderful. And there's and the bug like if you read the bug reports and the fixing, it's just like they're scraping it like nothing at this point. Like it's essentially perfect. And a system like those doesn't inherently have the same issues that something like a Sega Genesis, for example, would have in that you're not dealing strictly with like converting pure analog input to digital, etc. Like these are digital systems. Like so you're not as concerned with things like input lag or whatever on those. So yeah, Dolphin all the way for those two if you want to play them.
Love Dolphin.
And I'll add one more little recommendation, which is if you are going to play a Genesis PC Engine NES game, try it on composite. Try using the crappiest cables you got on your CRT.
On a CRT.
Yeah,
do
CRT specifically.
Do composite on your flat screen.
No, don't do composite on anything other than a CRT because it looks worse than anything.
Or do composite through a good scaler like Mike Chee's RetroTink series.
I've got the RetroTink 5X and I'm loving every minute of it.
More like Retro Stink. No, it's good. I'm just kidding.
I think a lot of people probably know this, but a lot of games were, again, I talked earlier about the canvas of games, right? Like, and how I like to think about that a lot. And that's a big one, is that a lot of these earlier games, not all of them, it really comes down to the artists and what they're in their working environment, but a lot of them were drawn on composite televisions and take advantage of them on purpose.
Yeah.
So, consider it.
Oh yeah, while I'm here, I'd also like to shout out Bob at Retro RGB, who is the one who facilitated my construction of a PlayStation 1 with the X Station and PS1 digital mods, with which I just earlier today played a whole bunch of R4 Ridge Racer Type 4 with my Neji Cone controller.
It's a pretty good one.
The only way to play. Love that game. Love that controller.
I've got some recommendations to round this out.
Are you going to recommend Cyber Sled, which can also be played with the Negicon, but is very bad?
You took the words right out of my mouth. I absolutely was going to recommend that bad game. But I would also recommend that if you're listening to this show on any platform where you can subscribe to or review podcasts, that you engage with us in that way, no matter where we ranked it. You could also go to patreon.com/insertcredit, where you could become a patron to submit your own topics, listen to monthly bonus episodes, and get other exclusive content, like Tim and Brandon and Frank's version of this very list. You could also join us on forums.insertcredit.com and follow us on Twitter for our own personal updates and projects. The show is at Insert Credit. I'm at Alex Jaffe. Frank is at Frank Cifaldi. Tim is at 108. And Brandon is at Necrosofty. This show is edited by Esper Quinn with music by Kurt Feldman. Once more, I'm Alex Jaffe.
I'm Frank Cifaldi.
Well, I'm Tim Rogers.
I'm Brandon Sheffield.
And have a good night.
Whoa.
And
is that our sign-off? Is that the new sign-off?
It might not be nighttime for them. They might be listening in the morning.
You're only allowed to listen to this episode at night. If you listen to this episode during the day, it will be night by the time you finish.
Yeah, eventually.
Yeah.
It's nighttime somewhere.
And it's nighttime somewhere.
My elementary knowledge of astronomy tells me it is nighttime somewhere on this Earth.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what does suck, though, is this Earth. That Pearl S. Buck was quite wrong. It is not a good Earth. It is a trash Earth.
It's not the Earth's fault. I think the Earth's okay.
No,
it's all
this
us.
planet blows. This planet's a failure.
It's not the planet's fault.